Morning, everyone. Today we have a great match, a new event. It's a women's match between UTRGV and Texas Tech, and they are about to begin. Let's let me give them a hint. Now they may already begin. Probably the games will start very soon. So, what is this event? It's a match between UTRGV and Texas Tech. Last week we had Texas Collegiate Superfinals. Texas Tech won the event. UTRGV finished second. UT Dallas was third, and we decided to organize a match, but it's a match just between women's teams. Both UTRGV and Texas Tech have very strong teams, women teams, and we decided to check who is best in Texas. Till now, collegiate chess, US collegiate chess didn't really have women's competitions. There were some women's prizes only in open competitions. And we decided to change it. We decided just to have separate events, new events. We hope it will help the girls to play more. We know that for some reason more men play chess than women. We decided to make some changes to create this women's event. This is board one. It's between Nadezhda Salah and Yulia Antolak. It's a King's Indian. Typically, white tries to castle short side, but in this system, white sometimes tries to play h4 and h5. Knight on g3 is actually badly placed in the sense you don't have any active perspectives, but on the other hand, the knight protects the pawn on e4 and helps you if only black doesn't stop h5. So black obviously played h5, trying to cut the counterplay, but then it's very difficult for black to play f5, like move the knight and play f5, because after ef5, gf5, this pawn in h5 will always be hanging. So bishop g5, knight c5, and as we can see, it's pretty useful right now to have the knight on g3. Again, it's not an active piece, but it defends pretty well the pawn on e4, plus stops the counterplay of black related to f5. Let's see what happens on board 2. In this match against between UTRGV, the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, and Texas Tech University, there are four women, and the system of play is Scheveningen. So we will have 4 rounds. Everybody on one team will play against everybody on the other team. So here on board 2, we have Claudia Munoz against Alicia Libitska. And Texas Tech in the first round plays white against on all 4 boards. That's pretty typical when for the Scheveningen format. B3. This is not a common move. Typically, white takes on b5. Black tries to play a6. B takes a6, and then black tries to take on a6. Typically, black starts with g6, bishop g7, short castle. Eventually, black takes on a6. So white wins a pawn, but on the other hand, black has a pretty good compensation. The a and the b file are open. It's called Benko gambit or Volga gambit. So in the game, white played b3. White didn't accept the pawn sacrifice. This weakens this diagonal. So if I were black, I would have probably played g6 to try to play bishop g7 and attack this rook on a1. I'm not really afraid of c takes b5. If I wanted to take, white could have done it much earlier. Let's see board 3. So it's Anna Shamatava. Anna Shamatava is from UTRGV. So first two boards, I apologize for confusion. First two boards, Texas Tech is playing white. Now on board 3, UTRGV is playing white, and also on board 4. So let's see how this game continues. It's knight f6, knight f3, b3. Sometimes people play this move. So the main idea of b3 is when black plays with the bishop to b7 to g7. It's a great diagonal for the bishop, and white wants to have this bishop on b2, kind of hitting this bishop. Very often the bishop gets traded, and that's the strategic idea of white. White wants to trade the bishops. So black played d5, white played bishop g2, and black played c6. Kind of solid, a little bit passive. Black could have tried to play c5 to get control in the center. I think it desired attention. Maybe after d5. White should have played c5. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Good morning, Bartek. Doing great. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah.
We are in the studio watching the games. The girls have just started, like 2-3 minutes ago. That's board 3.
Yeah, we see some solid chess so far, right?
Yes, solid chess. And white played d4. Typically, white tries not to play d4 when this bishop is on b2, or at least delay this move d4. Because once you play d4, you weaken e4 square, so then black can easily go with the knight to e4. Probably c4 first. It's more logical, or more common. Let's put it this way. d4, knight e4. That's exactly what I thought. Knight d2, and probably some bishop f5 to protect. Yes. Now black has developed pretty well. I don't see a lot of problems. If white plays c4, and that's what happened in the game, black can capture on d2. After queen d2, black can play bishop e4. Instead, black played knight d7. There is also nothing wrong with this move. White can try to play knight h4. After knight d2, queen d2. Now this bishop will have to go to e6. But still, this is completely playable. White played rook c1, preparing probably to open the c file somewhere. Protecting c3 square as well, so black sometimes plays queen a5 in such positions. Knight df6. Black is trying to get control over e4 square, but black weakens e5 square, so white knight can go there. And that's what happened in the game, knight e5. Let's see board 4. So d4, d5, c4, c6. Again, solid, really solid. Alex, you were preparing your girls really well.
Bartek, control the center, and yeah, just watch out for your opponent's threats.
Right. Bishop f5. This move, I think, is not so great. Bishop f5 in this particular position. Generally, it's a great move. Black wants to play e6 and develop in this way, but here white can take on d5, and I think white can play queen b3, and there are some problems with this pawn on b7. It's not that simple to defend it. If queen goes to b6,
sometimes they even play bishop c8 back, right? In such positions.
Because if you play, it's difficult to defend it. If you play queen b6, this endgame is slightly worse, plus also this pawn is hanging. If black plays queen d7, then knight e5, that's also not a great defense. If queen c7, later this queen gets under attack. I'm not sure, maybe bishop c4 is also possible immediately. To sacrifice the bishop and take on b7, trying to win the rook. If black tries to play b6, that weakens light squares very much. And then when the knight gets to c6, it's actually not protected any longer. So that's how the coach Alex said very often black comes back to c8 to protect b7. In such a position, white must be better because black lost 2 temples. But on the other hand, white took on d5, the structure is symmetrical, so it's not that simple to take advantage of it. Let's see how the game continued. Instead, white played bishop f4, developing as well. At least we can see both players make very logical moves. e6, probably e3, bishop e7. Very instructive games so far. Bishop e2. In such positions, I like to go queen b3 to attack this pawn on b7. And again, black tries not to play b6, that weakens the pawn on c6. And if you try to play queen b6, then white plays c5. Now you cannot come back to c7 because of your bishop. And if you take on b3, then the pawn goes all the way to b5. So after knight d7, white plays b4, and a6 doesn't really stop b5. White plays b5 anyway. Then white gets a better structure. So black was not on time to make a move with the rook or to castle. That's why I think going queen b3 immediately made more sense, or at least it was more challenging for black. Black can play queen c8, for instance, to protect b7, and then white plays rook c1. I think it's beneficial for white to include that queen b3. After bishop e7, bishop e2 happened, short castle, knight d7. Both players are developing. And let's see what happened. White played queen b3. Now black can already play queen b6. White can still play c5. But now in this endgame, when white plays b4, black will be able to play a6. So already white doesn't break so easily with b5. I still think white is slightly better in such positions, but already the things are way more complicated. Typically, white tries to play b4 or something like this and bring the knight d2, knight d3, knight a5. But black's position is way more solid than it was with queen b3 like 3 moves earlier. Let's come back to the game. So queen b3, black played a surprising move, knight b6. What do you think, Coach Alex, about it?
I mean, if you don't play c5, then it's okay. But so I see that white didn't play c5. So
white can play c5 right now, attacking the knight.
Oh, she didn't. Did she play rook a1 or?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, of course c5 was the right move, and then b7 is just falling.
So if knight c4, white can just take this pawn, or on b7 as well. And if knight goes to d7, then queen takes b7. Black cannot play rook b8 because white still has his powerful bishop on f4. Now everything is falling. So white had a great opportunity to get advantage. Instead, white played rook c1. Another, let's say, logical move. White is trying to develop pieces, but probably c5 was more precise, and I think black would have some problems. Let me mention that coach Alex has become the chairman of the US College Chess Committee, and is planning big new events, and in particular we are testing first the women's competitions on the state level. Probably in the next semester we'll try to do something on the national scale.
Yes, Bartek, absolutely. This is one of our priorities, to develop women's chess. Yeah, and this tournament is kind of the first tournament, right? In fact, I was thinking about it, and I thought this is like the first women's event probably in collegiate chess ever. We've seen some matches between women's teams in the Pan American Championship. I remember last year, for instance, Texas Tech played St. Louis University. Both women's teams, they kind of played each other, but I've never heard of a separate women's event in college chess, and this is one of the ideas already next semester, to have some kind of national teams championship, collegiate women's championship.
It would be great. So, Coach Alex, maybe you can explain the difference, because at Pan American Championships there are some prizes for women. So, like, what's new in this project?
Yeah, so it's true. But the Pan American, which is the biggest tournament in college chess, we have roughly 60 teams playing, and maybe only one or two teams were like full women's teams. And so there was always like a special women's prize in this tournament. But now we'd like to actually organize a tournament only for women. So it will be like the national championship, just as I said. So we would like to have more colleges, more teams to play in this tournament. So hopefully already first year we might have like up to 10 colleges, and maybe even more teams, because each college will be allowed to bring like 2 or 3 teams. And probably we're going to start, and this is at least an idea, of course we will need to discuss it with the committee and with everybody, like top teams, top colleges in the US. So the idea, at least to start this tournament, will be like having 2 people on the team. So it will kind of make it a little bit easier to set up a team for a college. So so hopefully, yeah, already next semester, and I think it will be very helpful to kind of to give some kind of boost, to women's chess in the US in general, and of course in college chess.
That sounds like a great idea. Definitely, UTRGV will be participating in all possible women's championships.
Yeah, and I know some other colleges already have women's teams, like for instance St. Louis, of course, St. Louis University, and probably Mizzou. I know they have several women, and actually we've seen other colleges like Alaska University, and I remember UT Austin. They used to have several women on their teams rosters. So I think it's quite possible that we might have more teams in this.
It shouldn't be that difficult, right? To gather just 2 players, and I think that's the idea.
Yeah, it's definitely easier than 4.
So we encourage definitely more colleges, both in the state of Texas and nationally, to think about it and join us for this national championship somewhere in the spring. We don't know details yet, but with this recent change, if the new chairman announces there will be the championship, it's very likely it's gonna happen. It just we need to get approvals. It's the official championship. Obviously, the US Chess Federation will have to approve it, the College Chess Committee, and so on. We will definitely consult it also with the US Women's Committee. Actually, Jennifer Shahade will be joining us today during this match. She was really excited that something is finally happening, because there were no collegiate women's events, and now there is the first match, and hopefully we can have the whole championship in the spring semester. So this game looks really complicated. White was trying to give the checkmate on the king side, but then white castle long side. I'm not sure if I would be brave enough to do it. Like, if this bishop is on h8, that's...
It all started with the sacrifice on h5. So once you
Let's
took on h5, yeah, I thought white has a very good position, but then right now I think the tables have turned around. Black just have a strong initiative.
Oh, bishop takes g5. Wow.
h5, yeah.
So, and what did... and just black gave that pawn. Wow. What happened?
Yeah.
So, why can't you take it?
You can, but then knight h5, obviously.
Knight takes h5, so there is
there is no bishop g4.
There is no bishop g4 because of knight takes f6. Bishop
Yes.
takes f6. How do you want to take it?
Knight g4, yeah.
Because it's with the check. So then I take with my queen.
Queen, I can even take bishop f6 and bishop g7, which was easiest.
I'm trying to get, queen g4, some knight d3.
But even there, king e2.
Even there, yes, I don't have enough counterplay. So bishop g4 cannot be played. Is there any defense possible?
You probably don't have to resign, but it looks very, very risky, right?
It's very risky, right? I will have my knight coming back to d7 at that moment, but then I'm closing my bishop. I don't want to do it. Maybe I will not have choice. Your next move is probably queen f3. If you advise me what your next move is, then maybe I can prepare better. Probably if black plays knight d7, white will play queen f3. So black is really having a hard time trying to unpin herself. Looks like it's really impossible. So white will have a very strong initiative. But c6 means that white is just a pawn up, so white should be much better. I don't think black has enough compensation. What's your opinion?
There is no, just down a pawn and lost position. Just retreat with the bishop to f3, let's say, and play h5. I just don't understand how black can survive this.
So looks like...
okay, bishop e2 is not a mistake yet, but...
so c takes d5.
Just c takes d5 and h5, and I think it's...
Looks like c takes d5.
Maybe she thought queen b6 or something. That's why I think bishop f3 was... Oh, but wait, e4 is actually protected.
It's protected by two knights. Yeah. We are discussing. Okay. This knight on g3 was pretty passive, but actually he was protecting d4.
Yeah, then it's wonderful. Yeah, my next move is h5 and just winning.
Looks like a crashing attack. There are no checks. That's probably why it was smarter even to come back bishop e2, how Nadezhda did, because if you come back to f3, and queen b6 and you try to play queen d2, there might be some queen takes b2.
Okay.
You have to calculate if maybe this knight gets trapped, but at least there are some tricks. Like maybe you can try to trap the knight. If a4, I will play a3. But it's more complicated. Bishop e2 avoids all kinds of problems. So, and that's what she did. But now she takes d5, and basically h5 is the pre-move, a winning pre-move. Instead, white took with the knight. It also looks well. So white still wants to play h5.
That's right.
So what happened? Bishop e6. Ah, I know what happened. So now there is a problem with this pawn on e4. So some double attack may happen. h5. So black will take on d5, and the next move is queen b6, attacking both d2 and e4. But how scary is it? So that's why she took with this pawn e, but that eventually opened that bishop. Sorry, not immediately. But why can't you take? It's queen b6 probably, right? Attacking both of them. Well, the queen is directly attacking b2, but at the same time, there is no pin any longer. So now black wants to take with the knight on e4.
Yeah. And surprisingly, black is gets some chances, right? Some conflict chances.
If white plays h6, bishop h8, there is no checkmate with h7. The knight is still protecting. If bishop takes, then h7 doesn't really work. The king finds a great square on h8. Very safe square. So that's why white took e takes d5. So then the pawn is not hanging. And suddenly there is some counterplay. Queen b6. So white played queen c2. Aha, if queen goes to d2, then knight goes to e4. That's why queen had to go to c2. And black played e4, opening this bishop. So white can take on g6, but there is no attack any longer, and now somehow black is pretty active. This bishop is very strong. Black is threatening to give some knight d3, give another pawn, but open the e5, take on b2.
Maybe that's something that she still should have done, and in this position, just to play bishop e3 or something, consolidate. Or maybe you're right, maybe castling and then bishop e3. And I still have a pawn. I have two bishops. Of course, black also has positionally is doing quite okay, but it's still a pawn, right?
Right. It doesn't seem like there is a good counterplay. Now somehow black would need to switch and try to get the checkmate, but how are you gonna do it? Rook e8 probably, but as you mentioned, this bishop can come back to e3, consolidating. Looks like white will be there. Instead, white played h6. I don't like that much this move. The reason is because somehow we are blocking our attack, our initiative on the king side. And then black castled longside, and you really need to be brave to do it. Because now if I make any move with this knight, my bishop opens, it's actually directly attacking this king. So knight h7, that's what black did. King to h7 was probably another possibility, and try to bring this knight to a more active square, like knight d7, knight d5, knight d3. And the king cannot really be attacked now. There is white pawn, which protects the king on h7. Black decided to play safer, played knight to h7, but now, so that opens the bishop, blocks the h pawn, but at the same time, the knight is pretty far now from the play. I don't know if black has enough pieces. Well, black has plenty of pieces, like the bishop, the knight, queen, maybe a4 should be played now.
Yeah, like a4 and b3 can be very powerful in such positions, right?
So a4 might be pretty strong, and black has several ideas. A3 is one of them. Another move the queen, try to play knight b3 check, opening this rook. There might be some problems. Instead, black played f5, which actually also looks pretty well. Black wants to play f4. This move protects the pawn on e4. So in this position, white probably wanted to play knight takes e4. A move earlier, it was not possible. The bishop was under attack. Plus, there was a pawn on b2 hanging. With knight e4, knight e4, queen e4, the bishop is hanging. Also, there is a checkmate. So with this move, bishop e3, white protected the bishop and pinned the knight. So now black cannot make a move. So knight e4 is the threat, and black played f5. I like this idea. Black wants to play f4. White played now rook hg1. What do you think about this move, Coach Alex?
Well, you know, if I had to guess, probably if you could give me like 10 different tries, you know, I would never, it wouldn't make, you know, top 20 moves, you know, for me, on page 1. But look, I mean, I kind of started thinking, and I see the idea. I mean, like, she's like provoking f4, then she will take on e4, fe, knight c5, and g6 is hanging with checkmate. So, I mean, it's true that actually f4 is not a threat, but honestly, I don't see how rook h to g1 helps white.
So let's go with this line, knight takes c5, and after queen takes c5, or this c5 is probably better because the queen can protect actually the pawn on g6, right?
Yeah, that's a little problem, yeah.
What Coach Alex was telling was queen takes c5, which looks more logical, but then there is queen takes g6, actually white gives the check. Black can capture with d pawn, and then the queen protects.
Yeah.
G6.
Yeah. No, rook
Maybe
h1, of course, is a little bit.
In this situation, but I don't see it. Knight g5 maybe, but rook f6 I can play.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like I have a good move with this knight. So looks like f4 was possible, unless white wanted to take on c5. Why not take it and then take on c4?
Okay, this works.
So queen takes c5, knight e4, d takes c5, knight e4. White is not losing anything. White is actually gaining another pawn.
Yeah.
So,
but still, why rook a to g1, right? I mean, not let's say rook to e1, for instance, or some other move. Yeah,
right.
We'll see.
You know, it's the internet chess, so we never know. Maybe white wanted to play rook e1, but somehow there was a mouse asleep, and this rook just landed on g1. Sometimes it happens. I think the idea of rook g1 is also to somehow take on f5, g takes f5, try to play g4, open the g file, but it seems pretty optimistic. It's like too optimistic. I don't think you can really do it. Okay, let's see what happened. Black played a4. We mentioned that move a4. It's a good move for black, good plan. And white played f4, stopping f4 forever. And if black takes, then probably g takes f3, and here you go. Now you have this rook on g1 attacking g6. Instead, rook knight d3 check happened. So it's a check.
I mean, it's a forced line.
Plus the bishop.
White has to take with the rook.
Rook takes d3 must be played. There is no other move. E takes d3, bishop b6, dc2. So now black is an exchange up, but white has two pawns. So the position is absolutely unclear. If white knight manages to get to e6, and I'm looking at some bishop d3 with the idea knight e2, knight d4, knight e6, that might be pretty good. Also bishop d3, knight e2, and then g4. That's why you have rook on g1.
Yeah.
Rook a went to e8. Bishop d3, rook e7, knight e2. Well, that's happening. So white wants to play g4 right now.
I thought knight f6 will be played, but yeah, rook e8 is still okay. Knight d4 probably, right?
Yes, but if knight f6, then knight d4, and probably this knight gets to e6. I'm not sure what the difference is if I play rook e8. I don't think black wants to give this bishop. Would you give the bishop or not?
I mean, no. I mean, I don't know if I would, but white is obviously better because g4 is coming and just
Now
not just better. White is much better.
So black cannot play knight f6. Black controls all the squares unless there is rook e1. Maybe I can trade the rooks.
Yeah, that's the move you will play, of course. Yeah, but even here, something like king d2 maybe, and
King d2 to control the squares.
And I can just play this game. a4 is a weakness, and this is difficult. I mean, it's still playable. It's not over, but white is definitely better.
Yes, probably if you play king d2 in this position, black will be on time to bring the knight and try to win h6.
And then, or maybe even go to c5, right? h6 is will cost you a lot of time. I might play c5. I mean, I agree that the position is still playable.
Okay, it's a complicated position. Let's see how the game continued. White played knight d4 and black played knight f8. Black can just protect e6. It's pretty passive, unless the knight goes to d7. Oh, that's interesting. But if you go to d7, I will play bishop c7. So I just need to protect my knight, maybe knight d5. And that's what happened. Now I don't know how am I gonna defend this now. Rook d7. So if bishop c7, what's your move? Like bishop d4 maybe you want to do. And if knight d4, you take on c7. And maybe that's why white played another move with the rook. Another mysterious move with the rook. Rook d1. So white is really trying to go to c7. In this position, probably g4 was possible to open this bishop.
Oh, but then she takes on h7, but then maybe f5.
Oh, but then I play f5. That's what I want.
Yeah, then f5.
Then I open my bishop. That looks pretty dangerous, especially you take bishop f5. It's a 4 plus if you play king h6, somehow you may get checkmated there. So probably g4 was a good move. It's really an interesting game. King h7. So why decided to play rook d1? It's probably to avoid that bishop d4 after bishop c7 immediately. Let's see. Bishop c7, I was right. So that was the idea of white. White probably spotted that bishop c7 immediately cannot be played because of bishop d4, or at least it's not so good. And that's why white played rook d1, king h7, trying to win this pawn finally. You can't really take the pawn because there will be a check. Bishop c7, bishop f6, bishop takes d6, and what happened? King h6. So white lost the pawn on h6, but won the d6. Now white has two connected fast pawns. It looks good for white. What do you think?
Yes. She can play c5 now, or I mean, there are so many good moves. But c5 looks very, very tempting.
Knight c7.
Yeah, I mean, I see what she wants to do. She wants to take on f8, knight e6, and rook h1. So it's actually,
what a beautiful checkmate. Look at this, attacking the rook, and there comes the checkmate. Wow. Well,
so knight c7 was indeed not a bad move. Yeah.
I mentioned a few moves ago, you can't really take on h6. You must be really careful. So that was beautiful. Black decided to sacrifice the exchange, but now black is just 2 pawns down. and white has a pair of bishops. You know what I would have tried in this position? Like, my king is so bad, maybe I would have just tried to move forward, like go somewhere with this king. And, you know, go to g4, you are safer there. Try to get some counterplay. I think it's the only thing Black can do in this moment.
Yeah, but c5, bishop b5. I mean, knight d7, she wants to block at least, you know.
She wants to block. Knight d7. Yes. Bishop d6. So white wants to play c5. Although if you play c5, I will take on c5. That's the trap. Bishop c5, rook c8.
Yeah.
Rook e3. Well, if you play rook e3, then of course c5 already is possible.
c5 is, yeah, c4. Okay, before.
White
I mean, yeah, c5 looks also very good. Yeah.
But probably c5 immediately was better. You don't need to play it before in this position. Yeah. You had to remove earlier, but once the rook got to e3, probably don't have to do it. So rook e3, b4, take, rook g3. Black is trying to get counterplay, but rook d2, and looks like white is protecting everything. Now the pawns are running. So rook e3, c5, rook e8. The rook is coming back to e8. b4, I guess.
Bishop b5, right?
Bishop b5. Oh, that's even stronger. There is a very unpleasant. Rook d8 must be played. Bishop c7, rook c8. Take d7.
Okay, that's possible too. It was not necessary, but yeah, it's also good.
It's also pretty good. So now b4, b5. Rook a7. Oh, b4, because there might be some endgames with opposite color bishops. Some of them may not be winning, though probably if you have b5, c6, you should be winning. And these pawns are blocked on the light squares. But king d3 is probably safer. Bishop d8, king c4. Bishop c7, b4, the pawn is going there. Bishop f4. Also some counterplay. Rook b2, but the pawn is going all the way. Maybe bishop e3 I should play right now. So after b5, I will play bishop b6. Bishop b6. Bishop e5. White played. Rook b3. Bishop c7. No, f4. Oh, okay.
4 is a bad move because it allows b5, b6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably bishop c7, but then white can play king c5. Ah, but then you play rook a1. Yeah. So still there were some hopes. After b5 there is a check. Of course, white should be winning in this position, but both players don't have that much time. And after f4, b5, rook a1, b6, rook c1, king b5. You cannot really stop the pawns. So white won. I wonder actually why did black resign? Why not to play bishop b8? Because I'm not afraid of c7. I will take the pawn.
Yeah, I mean the position is lost, but yeah, I know what I mean. Yeah. I mean you could have tried this. Yeah, probably rook a3 is precise. Yeah.
Rook a3 to go rook a8. White is obviously winning, but maybe that's your last hope. And if white plays c7 because gets nervous, white had just half a minute or so on the clock. You can easily play c7, bishop c7, pawn takes rook c7, and who knows? White already.
You don't want to win that. You don't want to win that bishop. In fact, something like rook b4, rook c4 is much stronger.
Oh, rook b4, rook c4 to trade the rooks than to play c7. That's okay. So
one of the ideas, obviously.
Texas Tech won very nicely on board 1. On board 2, UTRGV equalized. Black won. It looked king on d8 in Benoni. Not sure I've ever seen it, but white is totally collapsing. And what happened here on board 3? Texas Tech won. So it's 2-1 for Texas Tech. And board 4? Board 4, UTRGV won. So it's actually 2-2. Wow, what an interesting match. Okay, let's see the second.
But why white won here? Was it on time or something? Because I mean, in this final position, I can play rook c8, and it's still not not entirely, you know.
No,
over,
absolutely not entirely. Though of course you are an exchange down and 2 pawns down. So
yeah, I can play rook e2 and you know, still need to convert, especially okay, king f2. Yeah, I mean, considering that they didn't have time probably in this position, and then black could have white, I think. Well,
there is no reason typically to resign.
Okay, it was a good game. Yeah. I mean, good match. Yeah.
Probably very soon round 2 will start. Let me try to.
Yeah, Bartek, I will step out just to have breakfast, and if you need me, I'm gonna come back at some point.
Yes. Okay. Very good. So they are having right now 2-3 minutes break, and round 2 will begin.
But a great match, right? So far, I mean,
very
exciting games,
very entertaining match, very exciting games, and really tough 2-2.
Right.
We kind of expected it would be a difficult match. Let's see how it goes.
12 more games. Yeah, we'll see.
They have started, so it's round 2. Now we have 2 winners: Alicia Libitska against Nadezhda Salah. So e4, e6, it's Caro-Kann. It's a French defense. I'm sorry. Knight c3, knight c6, and white is already out of the book. White is finished. It's I obviously made a mistake when I said it was the Caro-Kann. Of course, it's the French defense, but it reminds me once exactly 20 years ago in the World Championship in New Delhi. I played against Jonathan Spillman of England. He was really strong. Let's say 10 years earlier, he was playing those matches, candidate matches, and the structure which we're having with this Caro-Kann was the structure with d4, knight takes e4, knight d7, knight g5, knight f6, bishop d3, black played e6, and so on. And later black tried to play c5. Now the match finished in 1-1. We had to play tiebreak. Now in the tiebreak we played French, and look what happened. White took on e4, knight e4, black played knight d7, knight f3 or g3 was played, and actually we reached exactly the same structure. So sometimes Caro-Kann and French lead to very similar positions, very similar structures. The games were even more similar than just because of the opening. They were really almost identical. I encourage you to see them. Let's come back now to the game of Alicia Libitska against Nadezhda Salah. So d4, d5, knight c3, knight c6, and white played knight f3. Black played knight f6. So if white plays e5, black very often goes knight e4. Now white cannot take on e4 because the knight is under attack and the pawn on d4. White can play bishop d3 in this moment, bishop d2, knight e2 some people play to avoid the trade. Later they try to win this knight. It's pretty difficult though. White instead played with the bishop to d3 to protect e4. So if d4, knight e4, we're actually reaching the same structure as I was mentioning in my match against Jonathan Spielman. White is slightly better in such a position. But the problem, if you play bishop d3, there is a concrete problem in this position. This is that black can play knight d4. And if you try to make a move with your bishop, your pawn on e4 is unprotected. And if you play e5, then black is able to trade this very strong bishop. In French, white should always keep this light square bishop. White was unable to do it, so short castle happened. Bishop e7. Bishop e7 is not a good move. Because black is trying to hold this position, hold the tension in the center. But this move is not really precise. Black should have just captured on d3, captured this strong bishop. Now, why I say that bishop e7 is not so good? Because white can play e5 right now. And look what happens. If black plays knight takes d3, I will take on f6. And now you have your bishop on e7. And white castled, so knight takes d3 was not with the check. If you take the pawn, I take your knight. I am piece up. If you take c1, I take e7. Attacking your queen. And when you take, I take. Now again, I am a piece up. So after knight takes d3, white is winning. So black would have to play something like knight d7. But then again, white is able to save the bishop, like play bishop e2. And black will probably play c5. White can play a3, for instance. This is what we can expect how the game will continue. So let's see how the game continued. White played instead of e5, white played knight to e5. So here there are some traps. White wants to go for generally for this structure. If d takes e4, knight takes e4. Even though white doesn't have a light square bishop, still white has more space. So that's why white decided to go for it. Now, where are the tricks? So the first trick is d takes e4 can be played. Knight takes e4 and queen takes d4. But it doesn't work because of that bishop b5 check. So it's a double attack, there is a check, and the queen is hanging, a discovery check. Knight c6 doesn't really help. It protects against the check and protects the queen, but you see there is still the pin. So d takes e4 doesn't really help, doesn't win. Black decided to castle, keeping the tension in the center. Let's see what white is gonna do. Probably something like rook e1 would be consistent with the play. Maybe you can develop this bishop, try to play bishop g5. You have to calculate though, because this bishop is unprotected. Maybe there will be some tactics. That's probably what black is, what white is thinking. For instance, if bishop goes to g5, bishop f4 was played in the game. But if bishop goes to g5, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, d takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e7. If queen e7, queen e4 white looks to be better, but there is some knight takes f2 right now. And that's what I meant. Though in this moment, white has an amazing move, queen a3, very nice double defense. You are defending your queen and you are defending your bishop. If queen takes d4, you can take this knight on f2, and after queen takes e5, still the rook is hanging. I have to take as white the knight on f2. If I don't, if I take the rook immediately, then there comes a double check. from the knight and from the queen. So I have to go king h1, the queen sacrifice, and knight f2 is the checkmate. It's a pretty common checkmate. It's a very well-known pattern. Probably that's why in this situation white played bishop to f4. Black answered a6. I'm not so sure about this move. I don't see much point of doing so. a3, knight takes d3, c takes d3. Oh, this move surprises me. I thought the whole point was to take off the queen and try to play that structure, which is slightly better for white. Of course, black has a pair of bishops, but still this bishop is not developed yet. It's difficult to develop. Anytime you try to play b6, b5, this square on c6 becomes weak. C takes d3 comes as a surprise to me. Let's move on. Let's try to see what's happening here. So it's Julian Tolak against Claudia Munoz, and they also play the French defense. Knight f6, e5, knight d7, bishop d3, c5, c3, knight c6, knight e2, just a different line. Queen b6, knight f3. White, black very often takes on d4 first, or takes in this position and plays f6. Black played f6 immediately. E takes f6. Right here I would have to double check if it's really so good, if playing f6 without taking on d4 is equally good. E takes f6, knight takes f6. It looks like playing f6 immediately gives some additional options for white. Short castle, cd4, cd4. Now we have just a simple transposition. I think white had some choice. Bishop d6, and let's see what was played. a3. I see. White has a better structure. Black has a very weak pawn on e6 and the square on e5. The best what can happen for white is to somehow bishop f4 and bishop f4, knight f4. White gets white trades this very strong bishop. The bishop is the one is protecting the square, the very weak square on e5. But the problem is the pawn on b2 is hanging. So white played a3. Probably white will play b4, trying to protect this pawn, maybe advancing b5, but also then white will be able to play bishop f4. Short castle, b4, that's what happened in the game. e5. If not, then white will play bishop f4 or b5. This e5, it's a brave move, because white can play b5 right now. But there is, I don't know, e4, it's one of the possible answers. Knight takes d4 is another one. Knight takes d4, e takes d4. So white decided to take on e5. Knight takes e5, knight e5, bishop takes e5, and rook a2. I'm not sure if white needs to do so. Like, there is nothing wrong in this move. Maybe white wants to play bishop b2, trying to trade the bishops. But another possible move was to play bishop e3. When you make moves like bishop e3, you always have to watch out for some sacrifices here. And then if king goes to g1, take, take, and take. Maybe that's what white didn't like. But I think king h1 can be played. I I don't see the checkmate, though maybe it's the same actually. Because I have this check on h6. I don't have to take on e3. And then I take on e3. So probably that's why going bishop e3 may not be a good idea. So bishop takes e5, rook a2, knight g4. It's a double attack. Black is attacking h2, black is attacking f2. How is white gonna defend? Well, probably knight g3. And that's what happened in the game. So this rook on a2 is actually pretty useful. It's protecting the pawn on f2. And black played bishop d4. Very interesting move. So first of all, with this move, black is attacking the pawn on f2. Moreover, this pawn on d5 is pretty weak. Something may happen there. And when you play bishop d4, now white queen cannot really take on d5. There is no tactics. No double attack. I can go queen b3, but it's too slow. At this moment, white has a problem. White has to make a defensive move. Knight h1 can be played, but of course nobody wants to make such moves. So that's why white is thinking. Let's move on to game 3. And here UTRGV is playing black, Texas Tech is playing white. d4, d5, bishop f4, c6, c3. So it's a so-called London system. Bishop f5. As you can see, both sides are doing the same. It's e3, e6, absolutely symmetrical position. But white is slightly better. Why? Well, because it's white's turn. So knight e5, bishop e7. Actually, some funny thing may happen now. If white takes on d7, knight takes d7, look, actually now black is a tempo up, because black has this bishop on e7, white doesn't. So after bishop e7, white played bishop e2, short castle, short castle. And black played c5. I think it's a good move. Black is fighting for the center, and black wants to play c4. We discussed that idea earlier in a different game. That was white was playing c4, c5. So the next move of black is c4. It's not really that black wants to take on d4. Black wants to play c4, forcing white to take on b6. If not, the pawn on b2 is pretty weak. And after c4, queen b6, a b6, this endgame is typically slightly better for black. White took knight d takes c5. So white is afraid of c4. Black is thinking. Now on board 4, both of them lost the first games. e4, c5, bishop c4, e6. So let's say it's a modern Sicilian. a6, black is trying to play b5, a3, so this bishop can always retreat to a2. In such positions, it's pretty common to play knight f6. And anytime white plays e5, you answer d5. So if e takes f6, d takes c4. If bishop b5, then black is on time to play knight d7. Now black has a good structure. It's a good version of French. Black made all the useful moves. White already lost a tempo with this bishop. Plus this bishop is totally misplaced on b5. White doesn't have d4 even. Black decided to play a6 first. White played a3, b5, bishop a2, bishop b7. So no, not knight f6. There is also nothing wrong with this. d3, g6. I like this idea. So this bishop goes to g7. It's a great diagonal for the bishop. And knight probably will go to e7. That's why probably black didn't want to develop this knight to f6 square. And knight e7. That's exactly what. c3 might be played. White castle. Okay. Now c3. c3 is a good move. White somehow tries to play d4. On the other hand, the pawn on e4 is hanging, so it's not that simple to do so. You probably need to play knight g3 first, then you will be able to play d4. Black must prepare, probably some knight c6 may happen. Black played d5 immediately. Now white is able to play e5, though black I think wanted to play d4. Now white cannot take on d4 because that ruins the whole structure. Now black is much better. The pawn is weak, the king is weak. Knight has a great square on f5. After d4, after d5, white took. E takes d5, knight takes d5. Now black has a better structure. Both bishops are open. The knight on d5 is very nicely placed. The position is better for black. But white can still play d4, trying to fight for the center. If cd4, knight e takes d4. Another possible move is to play bishop g5, just to attack the queen and develop the bishop. Knight f4 happened. White is trying to trade this knight. This move also has a lot of sense. Your knight on e2 was pretty bad. That's why white is trying to trade the knights. Knight takes f4, bishop takes f4, knight c6. I don't think taking on f4 is good. It kind of gives tempis to white. On the other hand, black wants to develop this knight from d8, and you see you don't have a good square, because if you play knight d7, I will take, knight c6, I will take, and you have to take with the pawn, so you change the structure. Now you are closing your own bishop. Now white will play d4 again, or bishop g5, but generally d4 is the idea. So probably white didn't know how to solve this problem, how to develop the knight, but not allow white to change the structure. Because in this structure, if black only is able to keep the structure, black is better. White has a very weak pawn on this. Black has no really weaknesses. So let's see what happened. Knight f4, bishop f4, knight c6, rook e1. Oh, the rook is joining the buffer. I'm not so sure how good this move was. There is like nothing immediately wrong. I don't think black wants to play e5 because that closes the bishop plus opens this bishop. But on the other hand, there is also absolutely like nothing terrible with playing rook e1. Rook c8. This might be helpful because the pawn on c5 is pretty weak. So I was even thinking a move earlier to try to play queen, bishop e3, maybe try to attack c5, but then queen d6 probably was the intention of black. Queen e2, rook e8, knight g5. So the knight is going actually not to the king side, the knight is going to the center. Knight d4 attacking c5 plus knight is going to d6. Black has a good position, but black has to solve this problem. Knight e7 might be a move. To open the bishop to protect c5, the rook is already protecting. Let's see what happened in the game. Black played queen e7. So after knight e4, probably e5 will happen. And we have our honorary guest, Jennifer Shahada, is trying to connect. She will be joining us very soon. Jennifer, how are you? So good to see you. Thank you for stepping by.
Hey, thank you. How are you guys? you hear me okay? I'm going to switch mic.
Yes,
I'm
we
going to
can
switch
hear
to a
you.
better microphone. I think this one's probably a bit better. Great.
Yes. So Jennifer is responsible in the US Chess Federation for women's chess, for the development of women's chess. So I think the collegiate chess is part of it. Collegiate women's.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's like a really important age range for people to kind of retain their interest in chess, because that's where we lose a lot of people, both around like 13 and then again sometimes at like 18, 19 when they go to college. So I'm really excited that you're doing this event today.
Yes, it's the first event actually. We are starting, so we are playing this match against Alex Onishchuk, both Texas Tech and UTRGV. We really want to have the women's event. We want to give an example. We believe if we give the example, other teams, other colleges will follow us, follow the example, they will join us. Hopefully in the spring semester we can have a bigger event, the national championship. I hope the US Chess Federation will support us.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, you look at college chess now and you see the US Women's Championship that's underway, and a lot of the kids who are doing well in it are college students, like Dorsa Derek-Shani from SLU, Emily Nguyen, who just started Stanford, and Jen Yu, who just started at Harvard. So all these kids are able to combine playing chess at a high level with their academics. And I think that what you get from the chess is not only the fun of the game and the travel, but also I've heard so many stories of people who use chess later in their careers for networking. So it's just really nice to see people not giving it up. Oh, Claudia Munoz, she recently graduated, and she actually took part in an event that I ran, a college and chess panel. So we had like a lot of high school students there, and the idea was for them to like hear about how all these great women were able to use chess to help them get into college. So Claudia was one of our panelists, and we also had Annie Wang and Jennifer Yu, and they all talked about like how they wrote their college application essays about chess. Now Claudia here is Black. It looks like she has an absolutely stunning position, Bartek.
Yes, this knight on h1, that's pretty, I don't know how to say, pretty impressive. No, that's probably not the way you should say. I don't know how this knight get there. Well, actually, I know. So with bishop d4, that's the moment we saw. It was really difficult to protect this pawn. So white decided to play knight h1 to protect f2. I thought that was gonna happen. But then after queen d6, there was a direct threat of queen takes h2. So you have to do something. And white decided to play g3. That indeed defends against queen h2 checkmate, but you can't have a good position with this knight on h1, can you?
Oh man, it looks horrible. Yeah, I mean, I actually looked at the position and I thought that like Black was just up a piece. But okay, so Claudia played queen e5, right?
Right. Queen
and now
e5.
it's white on, yeah, hitting
And
the bishop.
the queen is going to h5, where Black still has that idea of checkmating white. Bishop c1. Wow, another piece is coming back home.
So queen h5, I guess that would force the move h4, right?
Right.
And then where's
that
our...
typically that weakens g3, so that's why Black does it. But now when you come back queen e5, guess what? The knight on from h1 is protecting g3. So at least there is a point in that. There is something good with this knight on h1.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, f2, it guards f2. That is definitely a good thing. Yeah, so what's the knockout? I guess we just continue developing, like queen h5, h4, rook e8. Or maybe rook f6 or something to try to play rook f8. That looks pretty strong. Maybe I'll just try to play rook f6, and then you're going to have some real issues defending f2 ultimately.
Right. Black definitely has a good position.
But Claudia only has 3 minutes, so it's not going to be easy. 3 minutes left on the clock. What's the increment, Bartek?
10 seconds.
10 seconds, okay. Yeah. So the women's championship right now is played with a 5-second increment. 5 and 10, very, very different.
Right, right. When you mentioned those great colleges like Harvard and so on, when all our chess players, women's go in the United States, let me add that also in this match we have great students. Even in this game, Julia, she studies at UTRGV, but at the same time she's a student in Europe, in Poland, so she does two universities at once. Plus, she's a member of the chess team, so she takes it pretty seriously. And actually, when we go to this game, Alicia does the same. She has just started the college in Poland. Plus, at the same time, she studies at UTRGV. On both colleges, she's a full-time student. Similarly, Julia, she's also a full-time student at UTRGV and a full-time student in Poland. And a
So she
full-time
lives
professional
here.
chess player.
So she
So
lives here in the United States, but she also goes home to Poland sometimes to play, to take classes, or one of the classes is online.
no, she takes classes at UTRGV online. Nowadays, nobody can get visa to the US. Consulates are closed. It's so
Ah,
difficult
right.
to get the visa. So both of them are, from the point of view of UTRGV, they are freshmen. They wanted to come, but you know, with this COVID-19, nobody can really travel. First of all,
So
it's
if you weren't
dangerous to
already
travel.
here, yeah, if you weren't already here, you weren't going to be able to get in. Right. Understood. Yeah, that must be very difficult, you know, like, but at the same time, they're using the opportunity to get multiple educations. I think that's so smart because,
Mhm.
you know, when this is all over, people are going to be doing extra socializing. So it's good to get as much education as you can under your belt when you know that there's just going to be a big party when everybody's able to again. Okay, so Claudia still, oh, she did play Rook F7. So she is just playing this calm idea of playing Rook F7, Rook F8, and just increasing the pressure. I like it because, you know, maybe that Rook will land on F3 at some point. You know, try to tickle, especially if we play Queen H5. I think it's
You can
great
also
for
try
black.
to play H5 at one moment.
Maybe, yeah.
It's not, it doesn't seem that scary. But if white plays H4, then maybe your plan with Rook F3, like Rook F8, Rook F3. Maybe it's even smarter. Then the Queen's on E5. You want to sacrifice on G3? No, maybe just a better version of it.
Another thing is we have so much time, Bartek. I wish I could come up with a way to get G5 in, but it's like once I play Queen H5, you play H4, and then G5 is Bishop D5. But maybe I can just do something really slow, like Queen H5, H4, H6. You know, I don't know though because I don't want to weaken myself too much. So Rook E2 was played, and now we assume Claudia is going to play Queen H5.
It was not played yet, but probably that's what I would have done in this situation. So try to ask you what are you gonna do with your queen. Probably you will go to h5. Well, it's not that I have choice, I have to play h4, but now I want to take on h7 and take on d4. So I have a trap. Do what I am afraid. What if you play knight e5? Like, I'm always afraid of such moves.
Yeah.
Because now if I take on h7, then it doesn't really work so well because there is a fork. Right, plus my rook is also hanging.
That looks great. I might have to just bail out here with like Rook E5, but I'm gonna have very minimal compensation, right?
Yes.
No, none. Otherwise, none is none. Knight E5, Rook E5, Queen D1, and Bishop E5, and you're just up at exchange. But Claudia only has 2 minutes, so White's certainly not going to resign or anything.
No, why should he resign? Now I understand why White doesn't want to make that move. It looks so obvious, but actually, if White doesn't play Rook E2, then you still can play Queen H5, but after H4 you cannot play Knight E5 because then the queens are looking at each other. So, but what can you do as White? You think about playing Rook E1, but that weakens F2 so much, you can't do it. With this bishop, you don't really have a move. With bishop F4, I guess black is gonna sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, you have this position is just so miserable for white. You want to play bishop b2, but you don't have the access to that square right now. But look at this, Claudia, just 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock. So hey, I mean, craziness could ensue. Yeah, this is really interesting. So at US Chess, we're definitely trying to get more girls and women into the game. I feel like one thing that's kind of exciting recently is that there's this mini series that just came out, The Queen's Gambit. I think that could encourage a lot of interest in chess, actually. So it's about this young girl who becomes a chess champion. And apparently I just started watching it, but the chess scenes are supposed to be like deliciously accurate. And Gary Kasparov was involved in consulting. So that I think that could be a really good kind of push for girls and women in chess in the interest level. We're going to start actually a book club so that one of the things that's difficult with chess promotion, especially with women, is that because there are fewer women, it's harder to have like group lessons because everybody's at a different level, right? You have so many people, so you kind of have to like bring them all in. So when I do chess workshops at US Chess Women, I really try to focus on like the personality and the cultural aspects as well. So that if I have like an 800 player in the class and an 1800, they both can enjoy it, you know? And I do have classes. We have classes with like 50 to 100 people on Thursday nights where we bring in like guest lecturers, and we do have that range from like 800 to even 2000 because people just want to be there for the community aspect. But I think you kind of have to do that with girls and women in chess because there's fewer of us, so it's going to be harder for you to get a group of everybody the same level, right?
But I think you are already pretty experienced with that. When you make those live commentaries for St. Louis events, your audience is actually, everybody starting from, I don't know, 1,100, I'm not sure, till 2,700. Everybody is watching you, and you have to, make everybody happy. That's
exactly. And you assume like the really, really strong players are there more for like the interviews and for like the drama. So you don't really have to worry as much about them because there's no way we're going to be able to satisfy them because their analysis is going to be so high level. But yeah, that's the thing. You entertain the people on the polls and then you try to instruct the middle. I think that's the thing. Like, so like the people that are like on the really high end and the really beginner end, you need to give them some kind of like fun so they enjoy it. And then the people in the middle are the ones who are most likely to like learn stuff, but everybody can have fun.
Definitely. This is great. What's happening in this game? So white looks like has improved slightly the position. The knight is still on h1, so it looks ugly, but at least the king is on g2, and there is no direct checkmate. Bishop went to b6. Also, pay attention to the time. Black has only half a minute remaining with the 10 seconds of increment, but it's very easy to get nervous, blunder something.
Yeah,
so I would say the result is still open, even though objective Black has a better position. But,
so Claudia goes to Texas Tech, not UGRTV, but she, like you, is a math person, right? You're a mathematician, is that right?
I have a master's degree in physics. Actually, now I'm almost finishing my PhD in physics. But I like mathematics a lot, and at UTRGV, I even gave, together with my colleague from the math department, a special class in the spring semester. It was called Mathematics of Chess. It was an upper level 3 credit hour course. It went pretty good. You didn't really need to know anything about chess. Of course, if you knew, it was kind of easier for you, but it wasn't really required to know. The first 10-15 minutes of our lecture, we explained how to make moves with the pieces, and that's all you needed. The main task was really, we were focusing on mathematics. We were using chess as a tool to learn mathematics to explain certain math problems, which otherwise might be difficult or at least not that obvious. And sometimes when you use chess as a tool, so it's not we are not really teaching them how to play chess. We are using chess as a tool to teach them mathematics. And the results were really great. I wasn't sure how it was gonna finish. It was the first time I was delivering that class, that lecture. I was really impressed. My students were giving very good feedback. They said, "Oh, thank you so much. Because of your class, we are really much more excited about mathematics. We want to continue with it. It's so funny, so good to do certain problems. We understand now much better. Our understanding of mathematics has improved a lot." And that was exactly what I wanted to hear. That was like the goal of the class.
That is so fantastic. I mean, I'm so happy to hear that. Now, tell me a little bit more about like, where can we find out more about the class? Is there like a syllabus online? Are you going to be doing this again?
We will be doing it again. We are still thinking about spring to do it once a year, but more likely our schedule will be once every second year. We think from the perspective of UTRGV, it's better. As for the syllabus, you can find it online, but it's not that simple to find it online. You can definitely try to find me on Facebook, and then I've written a few things about mathematics of chess. I posted some links, so maybe if you try to locate me on Facebook, you can get access to all the materials.
There's a little bit more insight into what it's about. I think that's just so great. I love to hear it. Let's see what happened in this game. 16 seconds left for Claudia. And she did make a move. She played. Wait, you want to catch up with the players? Yeah, let's catch up with them. Bishop G4, nice looking move. Okay. How is Black not winning here? It seems like Black should be winning, but what did she do? Bishop F2.
Your rook is pinned to rook d8, but then you lose this one.
Oh my God, is White defending this? This is a massive defense. If so, could we play something like? No. Everything doesn't seem like it quite works. Maybe Bishop D7.
Yes, I was thinking about the same. Bishop d7 to try to play bishop 6, but I play queen e5. So if you give me this nasty check, it looks like winning. But
but I can just take on e5 and take on f1. That was my idea.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to give me checkmate immediately, but you will give it like in a couple of moves. Oh, then bishop d7 is a strong move. Indeed. Bishop e2 is what happened in the game.
Then maybe that's good too, though. I mean, bishop e2 could be a really good move.
Right.
Because, well, I guess what happens if rook f2? Then
but there is a bishop.
The bishop, right? There's a bishop there. Okay, so bishop e2 looks like a good move too.
Yeah, it's a great move.
Yeah. Okay, so what did Julia do? She played bishop e2. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty. Maybe what she could have tried was to take this bishop and bring this knight back. She's the exchange down, but somehow maybe she can stabilize the position. Knight g4, well, I'm not sure. Bishop d3, maybe I can or queen d3. No, queen d3 I cannot. Oh, maybe I can. Because I'm threatening the checkmate, and if you take on d3, I will take with the knight. Of course, I am the exchange down, but maybe
Claudia. So she won. I don't know whether she won on time. No, I think there were some more moves after bishop e2, bishop b2, bishop f1, right? So this happened.
Queen g4, yes. That's why I don't like this bishop b2. Looks like it allows. Oh, but that's complicated. So there are checks coming from all possible sides.
And we finally won that knight, and there it is, a checkmate on the board. Well done, Claudia.
The knight was important actually because it was protecting the f2 square.
And this is so this is very logical that at the end of the day there was a mate on f2. What happened in the other game, Alicia? Do you want to take a look? I guess it's time scramble time.
Oh, they are still playing.
Yeah,
Okay.
this one's still underway. It looks like maybe it'll be a draw. Bishops of opposite color.
But it's probably not that simple. And Alex Oniszczuk, the coach of Texas Tech, is with us. Congratulations, Alex, on the victory of Claudia. It was a great game. So Claudia proved that.
Yeah, thanks, Bartek. And Jennifer.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Good. How's the U.S. Championship going? I mean, I'm following, of course. Yeah.
It's restarting in a couple hours.
Today's a big day. It's
yeah.
Decisive day. Yeah.
Two more rounds. Irina Krash is leading right now, and Dorsa Derechani from SLU is one of the runner-ups right now. So some good collegiate representation there.
Absolutely. Not that it was expected, but I mean, that's why we love to see these tournaments, right?
Yeah, you have to actually play them, right? Carissa Yip also, as you used to do some work with her, right? So she's doing fantastic.
Yes.
Although, I mean, it's funny because Carissa is one of the favorites, so it's like it's not surprising to see her near the top, right?
That's right. Yeah, she lost the game yesterday, unfortunately. Yeah, she was leading right after round 8. Then she lost. But I mean, there are still 2 rounds, so anything is possible at this point. I mean, all 3-4 people that are in front, I mean, can still win. Of course, Irina is a favorite, and it's been what 4 years since she won her last U.S. championship. So of course, you know, my generation is rooting for her.
Nadezhda. Oh yeah. Well, Irina's great, and you know she had a rough year getting COVID, as chronicled in the New York Times. So it's good to see good things happen to her. But okay, so Rook C5. So what is this? Nadezhda Salai. I assume she's one of your students, Alex.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And can you tell me about her? Is she a freshman?
I think this is her 2nd year. She's definitely a good player, and you see in this tournament she's performing so well. She won in the 1st round, and now she's pressing really hard. In fact, I think her position is getting better and better. Objectively, I think it's very close to be winning now. Yeah. So my ladies are doing so well. I mean. And frankly, I didn't expect that we somehow, you know, I thought the UT Rio Grande is a much stronger team, quite frankly. But so far we are doing quite well.
The first match finished 2-2. Now in the 2nd round, you are already leading 2-1, and you have an extra pawn.
Yeah,
so
in this position, and quite frankly, I think it's very hard to play this position with white. It's just you know, black can just make kind of reasonable decent moves, and it's so hard to defend. Yeah, Rook C7 has been played in this position.
Yes, it has been played.
So if she takes, then Bishop F6. Yeah.
Bishop
but
F5,
then Bishop F6.
Rook G4.
Okay, this still works. Yeah. But then Bishop A5. I think this this trade is good for white.
That's what happened in the game. That's exactly what happened in the game. So now white has a very strong bishop on e5. So white is attacking g7, protecting g3, maybe bishop f4. One day will happen to cut this rook. Black
so you think it's going to be hard for black to win this now, Bartek?
I think it will be hard.
Yeah, this is nice also, rook a7. It looks like she has everything under control now.
Yeah, not so easy to find a plan,
Are they going to keep? And what's the structure of this tournament? So there's another round after this, right? And then it wraps up.
Yes, there are 2 more rounds. So we are playing the Scheveningen structure. So everybody on my team will play against everybody on Coach Alex's team.
So it's basically 4 rounds. Four players, they all play each other. So it's rounds, and the time to draw 15 plus 10.
Yeah, it's great. Looks like a really great event. And I heard, Alex, that you're now the chair of the college committee. Is that right?
That's right, Jennifer. Yeah.
Good, good. I'm so glad that you guys are invested in getting more women into it. I think that I guess it's a tough time because it's, you know, normally college chess, no matter what the level, it's very social, right? So now it's all online, which can be difficult, but it's like you got to just keep everybody involved in some way.
Yeah, but this idea of kind of promoting women's chess and aiding some women's tournaments actually came to us, before. It's not like we just decided it. So I know that Alejandro and the St. Louis University, they built a team. Like they have 4 women. Missouri University has recruited several women, and now Bartek and Texas Tech, traditionally for the past 5 years, we had a women's team. So it's a process. It takes some time, of course, but I'm sure that and Bartek probably has already told you that one of the idea that we have is having a new tournament, some kind of national championship, maybe already next semester, just for women in college chess. So it will be interesting how it goes, but I think it's doable. I think we do have more women in college chess now, and so it kind of makes sense at this point to do that.
Oh yeah, it's a great idea because that could help drive scholarships if you have a prestigious title attached to, the college, then they might be more likely to want to offer scholarships to girls, which would then encourage more high schoolers to play and so on. So yeah, I think it's a great push. It's a really missing link, I think, to retention. So I'm excited to see how it all works out, especially when we start being able to play in person again.
Yes.
But I'm gonna have to go because I have the final round of the U.S. Women's Championship to call. But I'm really excited to say hi and to see you guys, and I hope that we'll all get to meet in person soon.
Yeah, so good to see you, Jennifer. And yeah, good luck at the US Championship. I don't know, you're probably not rooting for anyone, but I mean, it's been a great event, and just like this one. But of course, it's always nice to watch the US Championship, even if it's online. I mean, it's been very exciting.
Yeah, I know, but we miss you there, so we do.
I have what 5 more years. I'm going to be playing in the senior.
Yes, it's good that they have a very liberal definition of senior. I told them they should call it the masters event instead, not the seniors, because 50 is not that old. Come on.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, good job, guys, and good luck to the ladies. And yes, more college girls in chess. Oh, whoa, what's going on now? Is White going to try to win?
Now White is trying to win. Yes, Black to pawns.
Definitely, this must be stressful for you guys watching your students play. I remember when I had to do that. I always found it very difficult. So, especially in the time pressure, right? It's not easy. It's not easy.
For sure, and especially when stakes are high. I mean, this is a friendly match. This is a little bit easier, but
yeah, it's easier.
When you play the Pan-Ams, then for sure, it's not easy to watch.
All right.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
In your busy schedule. Jennifer is super busy right now with the US National Women's Championship. So really, it was very kind of her to join us today to support our event. And we definitely need the support. We're only starting. We hope the women's collegiate chess will develop. Jennifer definitely is a great advocate of women's chess. As for our match, Texas Tech is leading in the second round. The first round finished 2-2. Now Texas Tech is winning 2-1, but in the remaining TV has an extra pawn, Alicia Libitska. Some 20 moves ago, black was a pawn up. I was thinking it could be difficult even to defend, but somehow with this time pressure, you see they're under a minute and they have only 10 seconds of increment. It's pretty simple to make a mistake, and that's exactly what happened. But the position still seems to be drawn. I don't believe with this bishop on g4 you can win. Just white doesn't have any passed pawn. You would have to somehow sacrifice your rook and maybe get the second pawn. Or try to checkmate the king, but it doesn't.
Yeah, not even this. Yeah. I mean, I would have played a little bit earlier. I would have put my king on h3, where it's like totally safe, and then just black could probably offer a draw in that position. But I mean, even here, it's really hard to imagine that black can somehow lose this one. But of course, anything can happen. I mean, like rook f8, and you need to make some choices. Go to the e file on g6, you go to g6. Maybe at some point you might get into some kind of checkmate net. But objectively, yeah, I mean, she's going to f3 now, probably.
I think black is trying already to get into troubles herself, because if this king goes to f3, that gives some hopes to white. I'm not saying like winning chances, but some hopes, because bishop will go to f4. Eventually, I will move this bishop, try to give you check on f4. You go to g2. Maybe then some sacrifice will work if my king is closer, and then somehow this h pawn.
Yeah, I mean, technically, sure, it's possible, but too many conditions. You need to, your king needs to be on f4, and somehow you should be able to take there.
I totally agree. The game is drawn. Black could have played also king f5. The king is totally safe there on g6. King f3 is also definitely good to hold the position. But let's see how it's gonna happen. You can take on f4, by the way.
Yeah, but then that's the question. Should I take there, then defend with the bishop?
So it's
probably
not really smart to do it, but
yeah,
it's not. Let's put it this way: it's not a good technique of
no, even though that you probably gotta get that pawn on h4, but still, it's the position is a dead draw even without rook. It's just rook e2, and again, just bring you. Okay, so they pretty much they agreed for the draw. Okay.
Yes, they agree. Okay, good match. So Texas Tech is leading now, 4.5 to 3.5. Very soon round 3 will begin. Just a small 2-3 minute break, and we will start round 3. That was a good round for Texas Tech, especially Claudia played a very good game. Somehow forced white to go with this knight to h1. Let's see again what happened. So black broke in the center with e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. There was a trick here. White played rook a2. If bishop e3, I thought black wanted to take on h2. So after king takes h2, knight g4, and after king g1, knight e3, pawn takes, queen takes, king h1. It's actually the same position. You just start with this check and then take on e3. And then you take on f1 and take on d3. Unless I take on h7, but anyway, black is better. So white didn't want to play bishop e3 because I thought bishop e3 could somehow force d4, which actually is not so great for black, because then you take on d4 and give check on c4, and then you take on d4. Maybe queen c7, there is also a move, but that I wasn't so sure what's gonna happen. Rook c1, maybe queen d6 is smarter. Maybe that's also a good refutation, but then bishop c5. So you have to really calculate here. Well, white decided to play bishop rook e2, maybe because of that bishop takes h2. Though I'm not sure what happens if I play king h1. Maybe that's the move I should play. If queen d6, I will play bishop c5. If queen c7, rook c1.
Well, if queen e6, oh, then
Queen
knight d4 or something. Okay, okay. So I need to find some good move in this position. Yeah, knight d4 is actually quite good.
So bishop e3 probably was the key move.
Oh, maybe Bartek, queen e6, knight d4, queen e5, something like that. There is no g3.
Knight e5?
Oh, I'm sorry, but then no. Then knight f3. Yeah.
Though you can go there, right?
I mean, I can. It's just actually it kind of works. I mean, it does work.
You might be winning here, like checkmating.
Yeah.
Bishop f4 you take.
Yeah. Of course, not so easy to calculate all this, right? To see. But, yeah,
yes, but no, that's not what I think I will do. When you play queen e6, I can go knight b4. You go here. Let's see in this position what I can do. Maybe you want to play knight g4. Maybe you have some good counterplay.
I mean, I want to play bishop f4, knight g4, knight e4. Unless, I mean, since knight f3 is not working, I think black has a good position.
And if white plays g3 or f4, no, f4 I couldn't play. My bishop was.
No, it looks risky. I mean, queen h3, knight f4. Oh,
yes.
Queen h6.
You know, in this game, everything is risky.
Yeah, but I mean, something like knight g4.
Knight g4. Yes, definitely it's a good move, but I don't know if I have to react. You want to take and play queen h3 then? That might be scary indeed. If I play bishop d4, you will play queen h6. And then I'm gonna get checkmated. I'm not sure if I have a good defense right now. I may not. Knight f4, you take on e3. No, maybe knight f4, but you play queen h6, right?
Quite possible, yeah.
With a lot of threats. You want to take this one, take on g3. I don't have a discovery attack because you are taking.
Yeah, if king g2, maybe I just go knight a3, rook f4, and queen h3, right?
So let's move on to round 3. That was the most exciting game of the round. Julian Torak against Claudia Munoz. Let's move on. We have round 3 going on. So that's Nadezhda Sala against Anna Shamatova. And knight g3, short castle, bishop e2, rook e8, short castle, a6, a4, b6. b6, it's not a typical move in this position, is it?
Probably not. I mean, looks like a waste of a tempo. Oh, I don't know. Maybe she wanted to stop a5, but usually a5 is not so dangerous, right? Because you still go b5, and the b file gets open. So yeah, b6 is.
I think it's more common to play somehow h5 and try to play h4. And this move a5 is not really scary. First of all, I have h4 here, but generally black has this b5, ab5, queen b6, black gets some contact. So playing b6 was probably not necessary, though maybe black wants to play rook a7, rook e7, bring the second rook. Bishop g5, knight d7. Well, the rook is not going to a7. Queen b2, black is thinking now. Looks like white has advantage. Black cannot play h6, now h5 doesn't work. white seems to be better. Queen c7, but the queen is not well placed in c7. Let's move on. Claudia Munoz against Laurent Tobias. So d4, d5, c4, c6, take, take. So we have the exchange slab. e3, a6. There is such a move. e6 is more common. Bishop d3. It doesn't seem like a very ambitious move.
Right.
So
yeah, it's not, because you just take an e6, it should be about equal.
and you can play bishop e7 or bishop d6. If you play bishop d6, white is probably slightly better because white is a tempo up, plus black has lost one tempo for playing a6. You can also play bishop e7. Okay, let's move on to the last game.
I think it's board 3. Oh, actually, it's lost. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, the fourth game. Knight c3, knight c6, bishop e3, knight f6, bishop c4, short castle, bishop d3, d6. So accelerated dragon, bishop d7, queen d2, rook c8. Black can also try to take on d4, bishop d4 and play b5. There were many games played like that, hundreds of games. I've played a couple of games against Alexei Shirov. Probably my best game ever was exactly in this position, in this line. I played h4 and tried to checkmate my very strong opponent. Knight takes d4, but instead of knight takes d4, black played rook c8. That's just a transposition to a standard dragon variation. Long castle, knight e5, king b1. This king is pretty well placed on b1, a6. So the main idea of this move king b1 is whenever black goes with the queen a5, white can play knight d5, attacking the queen. And if queen takes on d2 is not with the check, so then white can include knight takes e7. Something like this might happen. And then white recaptures on d2, white is a pawn. And if black tries to take the knight, then the queen is thinking. You cannot do it if your king is on c1, because queen takes d2, then comes with the check. So king b1, black played a6. Magnus Carlsen has played a few games with this move a6. White played g4, knight c4, bishop takes c4, rook takes c4, and knight d5. That I'm not.
Knight d5 wouldn't be my first choice.
It would be or wouldn't be?
Wouldn't be. I mean, something like g5, knight d5, or just h4. But knight d5, I mean, trading these knights here and opening the bishop and kind of, how are you going to develop your attack after knight d5, knight d5, et? I feel like black is a little bit ahead.
Probably h4 could have been played first, and then h5. If black plays h5, well, then the position opens on the king side. If not, white can play h5 and try to open the h5. Looks like white is dead. Now white played knight d5 instead. Knight d5, e d5, and black is thinking how to develop, because it's also not so simple. You cannot play queen a5, queen b6, you get under this bishop. Though the knight doesn't have a good move because of the check right and b2. So you can play queen b6 if you want, but white can play b3. So probably b6
maybe,
is
but
not really a safe,
c3, right?
or c3.
Also c3.
For some reason, I like b3 because I think he will take on d4 anyway, because it doesn't seem like you have much of the choice. I totally weakened the diagonal, but because of my threat of knight e6.
Yeah, but queen b6 somehow looks a little bit awkward. Yeah, let's try to find a better move. Yeah, queen c7 is normal. b5 maybe a bit slow, but kind of makes sense too.
So b5, white will switch to this plan with h4.
Yeah.
Because white has, by playing knight d5, white has eliminated this very strong defender also. And this is definitely good for black, for white. The thing is, this pawn on d5 is pretty weak, so somehow black needs to attack it. Maybe, you know what, Alex, maybe let's try to do it. Let's try
before
to do
queen
that.
a5, yeah. Or maybe even this.
You want to before queen a5, yes. But
that was another idea, yeah.
But this is a bit slower than, I'm not sure, and it gives me also knight b3 with a tempo, so I protect with the tempo, and then I can play bishop h6. Because my knight is not hanging anymore. So maybe queen a8 immediately makes more sense, but knight b3 I will play anyway, and maybe rook c8. Maybe now you're on time. I don't know if you want to take on c2, but at least I have to.
No, I'll take with pleasure. Yeah.
You can scare me definitely, and probably I will play, I don't know, rook c1 or c3. But then already black gets some initiative. If I play c3, black can play a5, then a4, then a3. Now let's see how the game continued. Instead of b5, black played rook to a4.
That's unusual.
Yeah, it's unusual. So the plan of black is black wants to play with the queen to a5. So if h4, queen goes to a5. That's the idea. It's a triple attack, a2, d5, and d2. You can take, but probably the endgame is not so bad for black. At least black is not gonna get checkmate. So what else can white do? Well, I still sort of like my move b3. So then you play rook a5. Maybe I shouldn't do it. I definitely can try to do it. b3. No, instead of h4. Maybe b3. If you play rook a5, come back to e2 with my knight. So now this rook is misplaced.
Yeah.
White will try to play h4, h5, or try to trade bishops. Probably if I try to trade bishops, what black will try to do is black will try to sacrifice the exchange. So something like queen c7. If I play bishop d4, then rook d5. I go bishop h6, then rook takes d5 may happen, and black probably is happy to sacrifice the exchange. For one pawn. White decided to play to play knight b3, queen c7. Knight b3 is probably more correct, and bishop h6 now. It's a good move. It's the last defender of the king. and it's really difficult to avoid the trade. You'd have to give the exchange, but now you don't win the pawn on d5. That's a huge difference. If white manages to trade dark square bishop, then white position is much better. White can also h4, h5 is a direct attack, but white can also double on the e5, like the rook e1, and so on. The structure is better for white. So here black has problems. Very interesting game. And you are right. That was game 3. This is game 4. So Alicia Libitska against
Ify. Yeah, this is Ify.
Ify. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. Now I will know. So let's see how they play. Bishop c5, knight e5. That's pretty common whenever you try to play this knight c6, bishop c5, knight e5 happens. And white gets a better structure. That actually already doesn't look good for black. White has a pair of bishops, more space. The pawn is pretty weak. Though black is still solid. Would you play f5 in this position as well?
Yeah, that's one of the options. Yeah. But I mean, frankly, almost any move is good. Even bishop d2, it's excellent.
Bishop d2 to go bishop c3.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you can take on b2, bishop c3, queen b6 or something, but even that position looks good for white. But the f5 is so typical, right? I think Lasker played this idea.
So,
like on the one hand, it's weakening dark squares, but then it kills the bishop. I'll see. So f5, of course, is a great move in that position.
So this is the recommendation of coach Alex. Now queen goes to h4, and it looks like black is in trouble.
It looks promising as well, but on the other hand, black can try to resist f6.
My recommendation and recommendation of Lasker is f5. So to kill this bishop, and then whenever black plays d5, we can play e5. Now the pawns don't get blocked. The next move is
queen g3, bishop f4, e5. Of course, looks winning.
Let's see what happened. White played king h1 instead. Knight g6. Now it's a little bit different. If white plays f5, now knight gets to e5. It's a much better square for the knight. And with queen g3, probably h6 is what you need to do. Still, white can try to attack by rook f4, rook h4, but already it's more difficult because this knight is very nicely placed on e5. In the previous position, the knight was on e7. So knight g6, and white played rook b1. Would Lasker play rook b1 in this position? That's the key question.
Yeah, too many prophylactical moves. It's a king h1, rook b1. Yeah.
So probably white wants to play. White doesn't want to lose this pawn on b2. So like bishop d2, queen b2. Of course, white has a strong initiative, but white didn't want to give the pawn. White wants to play bishop d2, bishop c3, or maybe b3 or b4, and then bishop d2. It actually also looks like white is better because the bishop is gonna land on this long diagonal, and it doesn't seem like black has a good counter play. Queen e7, queen a5, a bit surprising, but this queen might be going to h5. And then if you try to play queen h4, I will take, knight takes h4, and I will play f5, and your knight will be trapped. Let's see what happened. Black played bishop e6. This looks like a blunder of the piece.
Yeah, but not.
So white can now play f5. It's a fork. It's double attack with the pawn. You cannot now. Black is unable to defend both pieces at the same time. And that's what happened in the game. Okay, let's come back. Let's come back to that was the first game. Nadezhda Salah against Anna Shamatova. So we were here in this moment with Queen C7. And what did White do? White played Rook C1. Oh, it's a prophylactic move. Maybe White wants to play before somewhere. Knight F8. H3. So we can say White is not really rushing, but now this knight is going to H7. So it's difficult to play F4. Maybe you can still play F4. Knight H7 and go Bishop H4. Instead, White played Rook E1. Looks like White doesn't want to play F4 at all. And Bishop H4. I thought the bishop was going to F4, so the whole idea was not to close the bishop with the move F4. So what should Black do in this position? Queen B8. Wow. That's pretty original. So Black is trying to play B5 somehow, but this B5 is not working yet. Maybe Black wants to play Rook A7 and bring this Rook to E7. Though I'm not sure how great it is because there is that pin. So let's see. White played Bishop D3, protecting the pawn on E4. Looks good. Black plays Bishop D7. Black really wants to play B5. And white is thinking. Coach Alex, maybe you can share some news for our audience regarding some new exciting projects within the college chess committee. When did you become the chairman of the committee?
So yeah, about a month ago. So I became the chair. So right now we are working mostly on the Pan American Championship. I mean, the bid is still on. It's on the USAF website. So if you're interested, I mean, there is still 1 week to bid on this event. Even though that it's online. Yeah, even though that it's online, but for the Pan American Championship. So it's so we are bidding on finding the organizer for the tournament, and I mean the organizer as well as the platform on which we are going to play. So
and
it's
still for this year. It's not for the following edition. It's for the upcoming.
No. It's yeah. It's the Pan American that will be in January, right? I mean, it's basically 2020/21. So this tournament, the Pan American, will be the dates of this tournament is January 4th through 6th. So it will be 3 days, rapid time control, 9 rounds, and yeah, this is like right now it's like #1 priority for us to find an organizer and to organize this tournament. But we also have many other projects. I think people that follow this tournament probably have also followed the Texas Super Finals tournament that was held last week, also on Chess 24. other tournaments like US Blitz and Rapid, organized by St. Louis University, was held about a month ago. So we have quite a few events. Most of them are online now, but they're still very interesting, both to watch and I bet to play. So I mean, the life doesn't stop, even though that with all this new situation. In fact, we think that we might actually grow the college chess a little bit, because as we all know, online chess is apparently cheaper. For many teams, it's easier to participate. They don't need to travel, and I'm sure once things will get back to to normal, we're still gonna keep some of these tournaments. I mean, like some of these tournaments will be playing online, and I think it's good. I think it's even though that it's not the same, of course, and I personally miss face-to-face tournaments, but I think there are many good things about online chess as well. And most of the tournaments that we already did, right, Bartek? I mean, they went so well, and there were no technical issues, no cheating issues, quite frankly. So what we call fair play, right? So so far so good. I mean, actually, I'm kind of looking forward to more events and more online events. I mean, this year and next year.
All right. Yes, indeed. I recall in the US Blitz and Rapid Championship, we had a great number of participants. It was about 160, 170 students. And last year we had about 40, 50 students only.
Probably a little bit over 50, but yeah, because it's online, it's of course it's a bit easier. And yeah, I think we can have more. Just we had less than 2 months to advertise the tournament. So at St. Louis University, they kind of put together this tournament in less than 2 months. So they have to find a platform, work on rules and everything, and so like in less than 2 months. They got, just as you said, 160. I think on average it was about 160 players in both tournaments, so which was a success, and especially considering that was the first kind of online edition of this tournament. I'm sure we will have more in the future. So Nadia played very interesting, right, and very typical maneuver, right? She sacrificed the pawn e5 and then went f5.
Right. Let's see it again. White played f4, black played b5, 8x b5, 8x b5. In such positions, white typically has two plans. One of them is try to block the queen side by playing somehow b4, but in this case, probably it doesn't work so well, especially if you try to go knight a2 because of this nasty check here. It's a double attack. You're about to lose your knight. And if black plays c4, then it's difficult to find a counterplay. But in this case, c takes b4 looks like a good move. Normally, what white tries to do is somehow play knight a2, win this pawn on b4, and maybe take advantage of a very weak square on c6. Another very typical plan in similar positions is what happened in the game. So it's to play e5. It looks like black is winning the pawn for free. You cannot really take it. It just, I take, I have a great position. But white plays f5. So e5, d5, f5. Now attacking the king. So white has opened the bishop. The knights have a great square e4. And white wants to take on g6. If black takes on f5, there will be a lot of problems with the light squares around the king, especially this f5 will be very weak. So black played knight f8, trying to protect g6, and white is thinking.
Something like bishop takes f6 looks interesting, right?
Yes, that was the first move which came to my mind. So you see, coaches think in the same way, like you take, and knight c2 e4. I don't know if that was the move which you meant. And now black seems to be in trouble. If you play bishop h4, you are gonna get checkmated, then enter bishop there. If bishop g7, maybe I can play x6, but generally white can also take on c5. Let's see Claudia Munoz against Laurent Tobias. So they played that exchange slab variation, and instead of taking on d3, black played queen d7. Probably black wants to make the trade in a more convenient way, but it looks like black may get into troubles. So short castle, g6. Now some knight e5 may happen, also knight a4. Knight a4 is the move which was played. Now knight is going to b6 or to c5. It's not really a great idea to play g6 right now. The bishop needs to control c5. Queen d8, showing that really playing queen d7 didn't make much of sense. It's a nice sacrifice. If rook takes b7, rook can take on c6, queen a4. I think it's also another possible move. So white is winning back there. The piece now, the structure of black is really bad, plus black is undeveloped. So what happened was black tried to play queen b6. Excuse me, but it didn't really help. Knight d6, take. Now black cannot castle. Rook d7, bishop c5, queen b7, queen e4. Now white is just winning. So white very soon won the game. White is a piece. Let's see game 3. So we were in this situation, and bishop h6 was played, and I was thinking white had advantage. Queen c4 happened, but still it seems like there is no threat. Bishop g7, king g7, rook e1. Maybe black wants to play queen f4 somehow if white plays h4. Probably that was the idea. So rook e1 attacking e7, rook e8, rook e3. I sort of expected rook e4 to attack this queen. That's why I thought rook e1 was played. Rook e3, king f8, rook e1, attacking e7. Again, white has a better structure. White king is totally safe. The pawn on e7 is pretty weak. Queen b4, an attempt to trade queens. Queen f1. Somehow, I'm not sure it's the best possible square. Maybe white can try to play queen f2, even with the idea to play queen h4, attack e7, h7 at the same time. Queen c1, queen f4, queen b2, queen b4, and queen f2. This is what happened in the game. So white played with the queen to h4, e5. Black was unable to defend both pawns. Queen h7. Taking on e6 was another option. Probably rook takes e6. And if queen d8 check, king goes to g7. So black is...
Actually, it doesn't work when d7 wins this position.
Oh, because of this rook on a4. Oh my goodness.
And knight on b3 protects the king. But it's not so easy to see. Yeah, it's not so easy to see.
So now after the check on the first rank, there is knight c1. So then d takes e6, there was such a move, and probably then it should have been played. Because if bishop takes e6, queen h7, that looks like a really bad structure for black. F takes e6 also weakens the king.
Yeah.
White played rook, queen takes h7, white is a pawn up, but now black king is a bit safer. So queen f6, queen h3, queen rook f4, rook c8. Now again white is a pawn up, but the structure of black has improved. Knight e4, queen e7, c3, rook d5, rook d3, rook h8, attacking h4. If white plays g5, then bishop f5. Rook h1, f5. Oh, black is trying to break. Rook d2. So white will try to play h5 somewhere. Queen f7. I expected something like rook h5 to allow white to play h5. So now king a1. There is no pin any longer. Bishop e4, f4, queen f4, queen takes f4. So white got tired of avoiding the trade. Rook f2 probably. Now if g5, then there is a nice pin, but white can play rook g2. Rook g1 would be a bit, another possibility. And that's what happened in the game. So after g5, rook g1, rook h4, rook g5, take, rook f5, rook takes f4. There is no checkmate on the first rank. Now white is 2 pawns up, so white will most likely win this position. Okay. What about board 4? White is a rook up. Alicia Libitska won. In this position,
Let's check.
it's a checkmate. Wow. Yeah. So it's 2-0 for UTRGV. Looks like a good round. But there is this game Claudia won. So it's 2-1 for UTRGV. So the result of the match is equal. It's 5.5, 5.5. And this is the decisive game. There will be still one more round to go.
So everything will be decided in the final round. That's good.
Everything will be decided. Yeah. Rook f1, queen b6. So in this situation, instead of taking on f6, rook f1. Well, I'm not sure if taking on f6 is a good move, but that's what we were discussing with Coach Alex. So rook a6, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, knight e4 now, f6, but now this bishop can go to h6. And that's what happened in the game. That's a big difference. When in the moment when we were discussing, white had this queen on d2, I think, right? Yes, the queen was on d2, so the bishop couldn't go to h6. Rook c5, knight h7, d6. I think completely all results are possible. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, sure. It's especially with this time in the club. Like rook c7 looks very good, but then bishop e3, and you see that's how you can lose in one move. But I mean, I would probably, honestly, I don't know what I would do here. Like in a blitz game, probably play something.
Rook c8 and an endgame.
We got an endgame.
Much earlier than I expected. And rook c1 is a great winning attempt, but there is that bishop on h6.
But I mean, what she did is similar. I mean, she blundered an exchange. She played rook f2, bishop
rook
e3.
f2, bishop e3. So white saw that dangerous bishop. That's why she didn't play rook c1. So she played to play rook c2. But still, the bishop is too powerful. So h4, knight f8. But still, maybe white has some chances. What do you think?
I mean, objectively, no chances. But I mean, you know, with this time, of course, it's not over yet. But, no, honestly, it's the position is lost.
The position is lost. So let's see how the game continues. King f1, take on f2, king takes f2, knight e6, knight f1, bishop b7, trying to take on e4, take on d6.
Yeah, that's why knight d2 probably.
Knight d2.
If you lose the pawn on d6, and then the game is over.
So probably king f8 should be played.
Yeah. Even here, yeah, the king should go to d7.
That's not what was played. Bishop d5. But you see, they are very long time, both of them. So king e3, go with this king. I know that if the king is on e8, black is already safe.
Yeah.
King f8, very good. Very good. King f8, very good for UTRGV. So now this king will go to e8, so the pawn will be blocked forever. The rest should be relatively simple. White played d7. Oh, very interesting move. So look, after bishop c6, knight c5. Wow. What a spectacular idea. And if knight c5, then d8. If rook b8, then probably take on e6, take on g6, some complications.
Yeah.
But black was careful. Black played rook to d8, and now black wants to play bishop c6, knight to g5, but I don't think.
Yeah, she should have played knight d6 instead. Okay. But then bishop c6. Okay. Maybe that's
Black wants to play. Yes, black wants to play bishop c6. It doesn't seem like you can prevent it. So knight, unless you go knight f3, we have completely forgotten about this pawn. Now I'm gonna win it, and I will protect d7.
Yeah, good point.
It's absolutely unclear now what's gonna happen. I take e5, I defend d7.
Actually, we got more moves, Bartek.
Yes,
maybe
let's
because the situation has changed completely.
Oh, so black didn't take on g5, right?
Yeah, she should have taken
g5,
yeah.
And then bishop c6.
Bishop c6 is almost a blunder. Yeah, what she did.
So bishop c6, knight takes e6, bishop takes g6.
Now
bishop
the position is totally unclear again.
This pawn. Probably rook d8 was smarter, more precise. So then, if bishop h5, I take g2.
Right.
And I can take on d7 with my rook. I need to activate my rook. Rook c8. Oh, but bishop g6. Don't go to c2. Please don't go to c2. Bishop e8. Okay. h5. Oh my goodness! What kind of strong pawns you will have if I take on g6? So rook c1. Bishop takes. King takes. g4. If only you play g5, that's over. Wow. That will be like the pawns of Stembuliak against Candy Dragon during the Texas Super Finals. King f7.
Yeah, I mean the pawns are very scary. Yeah, even h6 and knight f4, knight d6. Yeah, looks like
yes.
It will be hard to stop them all.
Why did there's no way. So g5, rook h1. I think playing knight e4 was possible, maybe more scary even. So I want to play g5 and then g6. Probably black would have to play something like rook h1. And now let's think what I'm gonna do. maybe something like before I should play. If not, you will play before and b3. So I want to keep your pawn as far as possible. And anytime you try to attack this pawn, I will play g5. So king f7, white played g5, h6. Now white has to play h6, king g6, knight f3. Oh, white wants to take on e5, king g5 and f7.
Yeah.
And then don't forget about this pawn as well. I even don't know what to do right now. So b4 was played, knight e5, king g5, f7, rook e1. Oh, what a nice move! But king d2 I can play.
I mean, minimum king f2, even king f2. I still have the h pawn.
You still have the pawn. But yeah, king f3, rook f1, king g2. That's it. King d4, rook f1, h7. And Texas Tech is leading. So black lost that endgame. Originally, the position looks really dangerous for black, but somehow white misplayed, and then black had a winning endgame. But in this situation, that was the key moment of the game. Instead of taking on g5 and then playing bishop c6, black played bishop c6 immediately, and then bishop g6 and h5, and the things got extremely complicated. Eventually white managed to win. Knight f3 was a very nice move. Is there any defense in this position? I don't
think so. No, it's
rook f1 I can try, but you will take on e5, and you will not play f7 now, you will play h7.
yeah.
So I cannot do it. Knight f3. Probably white is winning. The pawns are too strong. Okay. There is one more game, one more round to go. There is a short break.
I will also step out, Bartek. Well, so far it's a great match. Yeah?
Great match. It was definitely a very good idea to have this match, and it's really entertaining. The result is completely open, and we hope other colleges will join us and we'll have much bigger events. So the games will start soon, probably in 3 minutes. There was almost no break between rounds. And so far, Texas Tech is leading. UTRGV has to win 3-1 in order to win the match, 2.5, 1.5 to draw the match, the whole match, and a draw is sufficient for Texas Tech to win the whole match. So far, the Texas Tech is doing really great. Texas Tech has a pretty good start, pretty good season, pretty good semester. A week ago, Texas Tech won the Texas Collegiate Super Finals. One of the players that we can see today, Julia Antolak, played 2 games. She won actually 2 games, both of them, at that event. But the Texas Tech won in a great style the Texas Collegiate Super Finals and became the state champion, the 2020 state champion, collegiate state champion. UTRGV had previously won in 2019 and 2018, twice in a row, but this year Texas Tech was really showing great class, good motivation, and very good games. The leader of the Texas Tech, Evgeny Shtembuyak, he's the world champion under 20, and he played really well. He scored many victories, and that definitely helped the whole team to be so successful. Today we have the women's match between the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley and Texas Tech University. As of now, after 3 out of 4 rounds, the Texas Tech is leading, but with the smallest possible margin, so everything will decide in the last round. Texas Tech just needs to not to lose the match. A draw is sufficient for d4, and they have started. d4, g6, c4, bishop g7, knight c3, d6, and white is thinking. So we will have another king's India. Now, on the second board, Anna Shamatava is playing against Claudia Munoz. So knight f3, knight f6, g3, e6, bishop g2, d5, short castle. Still the opening stage. On board 3, we have another London system. It has become really topical nowadays. So white tries to play bishop f4 and build that structure d4, e3, c3, plays bishop on d3, knight on d2. It's very easy to play as white. It's more difficult to play as black. In particular, if you try to play e6, you are blocking your bishop. So you can develop the one on f8, but already not the one on c8. Black played bishop to f5. And let's see what's gonna happen. White has a big choice right now. White can even take this pawn on c5. I'm not sure if bishop f5 is such a great move. Bishop g4 is more common. Bishop f5. White took. No, white didn't take on c5. White is still a5. And the last game has not started yet. And here they come. e4, c5. So let's come back to the first game. after this, oh, white is still thinking in this moment. That's not really a good moment to think. You have to develop your pieces. You can play e4, you can play knight f3. Maybe white is having some problems with a mouse or with the connection. On the second board, it's a very similar position. You see also the king's Indian, but with the reversed colors. And so white has now a tempo up, and actually even two tempis. Why two tempis? Let's see how it went. Black played e6, and later black played e5. So you see, black has already lost two tempis. White has played c4, and black played d4. So now we have that Benoni type of structure. White has several moves in this position. Even a move like d4 desires attention. If black takes with the knight, you take on e5. If black captures with the pawn, you play a3. So we get into that typical Benoni position, but white has more tempis than usual. So white should be doing well with the extra two tempis. Now, in this position, c3, bishop f5. White played bishop d3. Why didn't take on c5? So bishop went to g6. Very interesting decision, because already black could have taken on d3. So after queen takes d3, black can play e6, and black is doing really well. Black traded that nominally great bishop of white, the light square bishop. Instead, white decided to play bishop. Black decided to play bishop g6. So the main idea is, if bishop takes g6, black wants to take with the pawn and open additionally the h5. But I think it's not really fully correct to do so. It just costs a tempo, knight e5, and I think black will need this. So queen went to b6, and white is thinking. Black is attacking this pawn on b2. Black can take on g6 with the bishop or with the knight. Let's see what's gonna happen. Very interesting moment. Now in this position, e4, c5, it's the last game. So we've already seen one game very similar to this one. Knight f3, black played in that game a6, and then b5. And black got a very good position out of the opening. So g6, bishop e3. The idea is to attack c5 and not allow black to play bishop g7, but actually bishop g7 can be played, because if bishop takes c5, black can take on b2. There is also queen a5 check. So queen a5, white has b4 in this moment. That's why taking on b2 is much better. And then the threat is queen a5 check. g6, bishop e3, black decided to play d6, c3, bishop g7, b4. A pretty interesting idea. Black probably will play b5. And that's what happened. But now look, there is a pin. So what if black takes, pawn takes, and knight takes on b4? And this is what was played in the game. Now white is thinking, but white is already a pawn down in this moment. So black is doing well. Let's come back to board 3. So after knight e5, queen b6, knight takes g6, h takes g6, and queen c1. White protected the pawn on b2. Probably black will play rook c8 right now. Because if the rook goes to c8, the rook will be watching at the queen. So there might be some c d4, d4, knight d4. Already some tactics is possible. You have to be careful when you do so. You may sometimes even lose with some like bishop e3, but in this moment actually it's working pretty well. So rook c8 was played in the game. White is thinking. Black wants to take on d4 and take knight takes d4. And after bishop e3, well, let me show you this. Knight takes d4. If white plays bishop e3, which looks like a really good move, pinning here the knight, black can try to play e5. At this moment I cannot take on e5, but I'm afraid something like queen d2 may happen, and then I may have problems with this knight. But I have other moves in this position. I can play queen e6, and you are actually pinned both. Your pawn is pinned and the bishop is pinned. So the next move I can come back knight c6. So in this position, with rook c8, black is threatening to take on d4. White played instead of h3. H3, of course, it was just to demonstrate it. Probably the best move is to castle. Then I'm not sure if black can take on d4. White played instead d takes c5, queen takes c5, and white developed the knight to d2. So black will play e5 most likely. Another possible move is to play e6 if you don't want to weaken your structure. It's a bit slower than e5, but also has some point. Then you just ensure your structure will be great forever. Black played that move e5. So we will see what's gonna happen. And in this game of Anna Shamatava against Claudia Munoz, as you remember, that was the King's Indian, but with the reversed colors. Here I suggested to play b4, c takes b4, a3 as one of active options for white. White played a3, probably with the same idea to play b4. But if you play a move like a3, black can always answer a5, and then you are not gonna play b4. It's just already no way for you to play. Instead, black played bishop b6. That's a mistake. Now white can play b4, and white gets a great position. So what's the point here? If c takes b4, a takes b4, if bishop takes b4, now I can take on e5, because you are not castled yet. After knight takes e5, I will give you check on e4. And I will win this bishop duck. If knight c6, I will take this bishop and take on b4. I had to give you my great bishop, but on the other hand, you cannot castle. My next move is bishop a3, you're in trouble. So bishop d6. White played e3 instead. This move is not so good. Black can castle. Black can also take on e3. Pawn takes e3, then you can play short castle. Sometimes you can sacrifice this pawn c4. There is a similar line in the King's Indian with the reversed colors. White is typically slightly better there. So in this case, that's black who should be slightly better. But because black is 2 tempies down, well, it's hard to pretend that you might be better as black. But black definitely is not having any problems. So I think white missed the chance. So short castle. White is thinking now what to do. If e takes d4, black is gonna recapture with this one, not with the c. Now b4 already doesn't work because there is no pawn on e5. Moreover, the king has already castled, so I don't have any tactics. After b4, c takes b4. I'm not sure if white is gonna take or not. It's good to take, and somehow develop this bishop to g5, so later you can play knight e4, but you cannot do it. You already have your knight on d2. And if you try to move your knight and then develop the bishop, it's super slow. Black can even play h6. So white definitely didn't use the 2 tempies in a good way. Let's come back to this game. So black played e5, bishop e3, e takes d4, bishop d4, knight f6. White has a good center, but black is better developed. And knight takes e4. Some tactics has started. White has to take. Bishop takes g7. If queen takes e4, there is rook e8. So probably the best is to take. I guess king will take. Black can also play rook e8. I'm just not sure how good this move is. It's to protect. Also the knight threatened with some knight c5. But again, I'm not convinced. If black needs to do it, black can just take on g7. So white is thinking what to do in this moment. Queen takes e4 was played in the game, so black played rook e8. Now white is losing the queen, so this game is already over. And there is nothing white can do at all. Probably queen takes e8 is the best move, but it just doesn't help. White doesn't have enough compensation. Let's see. Let's see the second game. So that's Anna Shamatava against Claudia Munoz. This game is pretty interesting. So white eventually decided to take on d4, e takes d4, and immediately play knight g5 before black plays h6 and restricts this knight on f3 plus the bishop, so none of the pieces can go to g5. This knight is going to e4. It's difficult for me to predict what's gonna happen. Black has several good moves, or at least several possible moves. Bishop g4, bishop f5, rook e8, h6. we will see what's gonna happen. Very interesting position. Now on board 3, this is the position. Something happened here on the king side. Let's see what. After knight d2, black played e5, trying to claim the center, winning a tempo also. But on the other hand, weakening this d5 pawn forever. So let's see what's gonna happen. Short castle, bishop e7, queen d2, a4, knight c1, knight h5. White is attacking. Black is attacking this white bishop. Now the h file is open. Black needs to bring there the queen, or maybe this rook. Well, it's easier, of course, to say than to do. So we have another complicated game. And in the last game of the match, we were looking at knight takes b4, that was the position, and white played bishop b3, probably the best move, but already black is a pawn up. So knight came back to c6, bishop d2, knight e7, short castle, rook a2, bishop b7, bishop e3, d5. It just very good for black. Black is a pawn up. Black has a better structure. Now black already has 2 pawns and the better structure, and this d3 is hanging. The passed pawns are going. Now black will just play b4 and so on. The only thing is, don't miss rook takes a4 when you play b4. But black can play queen b2. That looks like a winning move. So I don't think white can defend in this position. So it looks like Julian Antolak will win for UTRGV. But on the other hand, Nadezhda is about to win for Texas Tech. White has only 20 seconds left. Black has a queen and a pawn for just 1 rook and a knight. So black is winning. So it's 1-1 with a very good probability. So everything will be deciding on these 2 boards, on board 2 and 3. So after h6, knight e4, bishop e7, that's what we can expect. White should try to trade the knights and then bring the other knight to e4. Something like this may happen. And if bishop e7, then my original idea was to play bishop f4, but probably then black can play f5, and there is not enough space for my pieces. If knight d2, then g5. To it weakens the king. It has to be checked here with some queen h5. Looks to me like black wins there, but there might be some tactics. White played rook b1 instead. So white wants to play b4, but black can very easily prevent it by playing a5 always. So I'm not sure if white needs to play rook b1. Sometimes if you don't play rook b1, then at one moment you may be able to play b4. Okay. And what about this game. So knight g3, hg3, rook d8, knight e2, knight a5, bishop c2, queen c6. Looks like black has a good position, so the knight is going to c4, the pawn is protected, if queen d1, b5. Now black has managed to stabilize the position. I prefer black here. And we have Nadia in the studio. Nadia, great games. You were winning and winning and winning. If the match was not over, I thought you would be just winning, till the evening.
Just haven't played for a long time, so I was like, I need to take everything that I can.
And you were taking a lot of pieces of your opponents. In the last game, you took the queen with this knight takes e4, sacrifice, queen takes e4, rook e8. Obviously, white is winning. Black probably shouldn't take on e4, but then black is just a pawn up.
Yeah.
With a very good position. So the opening didn't go so well for white. Probably bishop takes c6 should have been played. I'm not sure what to do here. And long castle, but black has a great position. Yes. So what was your secret for today? How did you prepare? Was it like motivation, good sleep?
Well, actually, I'm right now in Kiev. It's in Ukraine. So I went to a park where, those old people sit and play in Eastern European countries, like in the parks. So before starting the tournament, I went there and I played like 5 games. And they are so tricky, those men. They're like very interesting players. So I don't know, they just gave me nice chess mood. Pretty much it. Yeah, I can't really say that I played well. I think just everyone played bad because like screen and it's so much tension and so many blunders, like you see after a while, you're like, but yeah.
But it's really tough really to complain or criticize somebody. The time control is very short. It's 15 minutes plus 10 seconds. It's not a long game, 4-hour or 7-hour game.
Yeah, that's true too.
Of course, mistakes are gonna happen. We saw Magnus Carlsen winning against the young Iranian talent in a very simple looking pawn endgame recently. Everybody has seen that game. Still, everything is nerves. Even if you know everything, when you are commenting like me, then if you have to play yourself, it's much different. So many mistakes may happen.
Yeah, okay, remember
let's see this.
The end game that happened. Yeah. That's very representative of how. Yeah.
So we have already 1-1. This is the result of the match. You won, but also Julia won. And there are 2 critical games. Probably you know the result of the match. Just let me remind you, remind our audience. So Texas Tech is leading, but with the smallest possible margin. So there are 2 games happening. If UTRGV wins both of them, UTRGV will win the match. If UTRGV wins one, the other game finishes as a draw. The whole match will be drawn. If Texas Tech scores at least 1 point, Texas Tech is the winner. And mainly thanks to Nadia and her outstanding performance today. So many victories. So let's look at this position. What do you think about this position?
Well,
It's white king.
definitely prefer black. Like, I think it's just like a huge advantage for black. Like a lot of space. I don't see any like queen h6 is coming. The square on c4.
There, the queen is already there. Oh, that would be check. So f3 must be played. Or king
This is
f1.
such a sad position.
This knight is going to c4. I feel like that's a really tough defense. So f3, knight c4. We don't have to rush with the check. Probably g4 to open our bishop.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like a good position for white. And what about this game? Oh, something has changed. The whole structure has changed. So a3. Oh, black played knight to e5, attacking the pawn on d3. But it doesn't look like a great move. So knight f6, knight e4, protecting the pawn, attacking the bishop, attacking the pawn on c5, bishop e7, and b4. Also, black didn't play a5. cb4, ab4. Now white has a great structure. Now white is better. Bishop f4, knight c6, pawn takes. But still, the position is of course complicated. All results are possible. Just I prefer white. Looks like my structure is better and my pieces are more. So actually pretty tense. Texas Tech is leading, but UTRGV is better on both remaining games. What an exciting finish. Wow. Wow. So do you often go to parks to play chess?
If I'm in Ukraine, yes. It's like very nice atmosphere. Like people know chess history. They are like so fan of chess. It's very different from professional, professional people. They're so serious, like preparing, not talking. And this is completely different, and I prefer that one.
Yes, I know. I actually played in New York. There is a big park, and in the center of this park there is a chess club, and I played there with very similar people like you are describing.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the chess enthusiasts, they love chess. And they play for those small tricks, but you have to be really careful with them. You just lose your concentration for half of a second, and
Yeah.
they got you, and they are happy. Then they have the story for the remainder of the day or the remainder of the week. So
I remember going to such park. Bortnik?
yes.
So he won like the world championship, and so he was like so important, like walking in this park, and he decided to play with this old man.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about them is that like it's not just amateur players. Like their openings are tricky. So he didn't like catch him on some tactic. He just played a super weird opponent. Bortnik was like doing classy moves which did not fit at that point for some reason, and just like got completely overplayed. And that man was like, ah. So I think, yeah, they're so dangerous. Oh, the game seems to finish. Is it?
Almost, yes, because
Yes.
indeed the slide, the pawn on e3 collapsed. The bishop didn't go through g5, it went through c5. We can see it again. So queen h6, f3, knight c4, and bishop c5 attacking e3. King went to f2, g4 attacking e3. So now the queen is also attacking e3. f4 cannot be played because e takes f4, gf4, and queen takes f4. There is a pin. So white played knight d3, but then bishop e3, gf3, yes, and that's of course all. So knight f2, queen f2, king d3. Black is gonna win very soon. So that will be 7.5 to 7.5. Wow, what an exciting match! And this is the last game. Let's
Oh
see.
wow, it changed a lot.
It changed a lot. What is this rook doing on a1? Wow, a4, a5, bishop f4, knight c6, take. That was the moment when I thought white was better. I like the position of white more. h4, there is nothing wrong with this h4. Rook a3, trying to attack d3, maybe with knight d4, but I can pretty easily defend against this. Bishop c1, oh, that's not what I meant by pretty easily defend. I thought maybe queen d2 I can play. So then you cannot play g5, and you can play knight d4. You can play queen a5, but then game will be better for you. So bishop c1, rook a2. Looks like white panicked. Queen b3, queen a5. Now white cannot play bishop d2 because of rook d2. And black will get 2 pieces for a rook. Rook b2, rook a3, and rook a1. Oh, black has visibly improved the position. I'm not sure what to say about it. Maybe I still prefer white because I have a strong move rook b5, and probably then I can unpin myself. I need rook b5, so then first of all your knight doesn't go to e5. Probably queen a4 you will play. If you play queen a4,
But it's white's move, isn't it? Oh, it's black's move, no?
No. It's white's move, rook a1 and rook b5. That's what happened in the game.
Oh, all right. Oh, sorry.
And black played queen a7. And white played queen h5. Yes, and that's what I meant. So some bishop takes h6 may happen. And that's super dangerous, especially in blitz. It's super dangerous not only in parks. It's really
I mean, I'm thinking about what if like black played it's just too long, but might the idea be like rook a5 and go to the like the endgame is slightly worse, but the pawn on d3, like if you manage to put your knight properly, might be not that bad.
right. So let's see what happens if I take. Because you are talking about endgames, and I am already, in that different mood. I want blood. I want to give you check. You have to take it.
Yeah.
I take.
Rook b5? Or I even don't have to take rook b5. Maybe I can use those tempo.
Maybe bishop f5 is what you need to do. I'm not sure. If you take, I thought I was gonna play knight g5. If you play bishop f5, I will play bishop e4. If you take, I take with the queen. After knight g6, I play h5. Looks like you have a lot of problems. You may be able to play bishop f5. Let's see. I can still play knight g5. It looks like without a threat, but actually I want to take this one. Rook takes f5. And if you take on g5, you are lost. So this position looks really dangerous for black, and especially with such a short time, it's very easy to blunder something. Maybe bishop takes d3. There is a defense. I don't see somehow the checkmate coming. It should be there, but I don't see the checkmate. I can still play bishop d5 and pretend that I am attacking, but maybe that's not so simple then. Let's see. Meanwhile, some moves have already been played. Black played f5. Oh no, black played f5. So not rook a5, but f5. So now white cannot sacrifice on h6. Though who knows, maybe I still can do it. White decided to play knight d2. Now somehow black king is very weak. I think white is much better. Knight b4, knight b3, trying to win a tempo, and probably bishop takes h6. This must happen. Now bishop bishop d5 I cannot play because you have the knight on b4. Maybe that's why knight b4 was played, to cover the square. But I can take on b4 and play bishop d5. I can sacrifice the exchange. Let's see what happened. Rook b1. No, it has to be taken on h6. Like you cannot not take it. Every player in the park would have taken on h6. So now, if rook takes b3, rook takes b4. I need to get access to b5.
Check.
And now there will be a discovery, a check, even a checkmate. So this bishop takes h6. It's really great idea.
Is it a forced variation, if you don't mind? Bishop h6. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but if you don't take on h6, then I've just won my pawn.
Yeah, I understand.
You can take on f1, but I wanted to take with my king. Because I still want to give this check. So queen a2, anyway rook takes b4, because after check I can defend somehow. Knight c1 for it.
1 second. I mean, I didn't find it.
You didn't find it. Okay. Okay, yeah, probably it's impossible to defend. So bishop takes h6 was a good move. White played knight a5. Probably there is also nothing wrong with this move. White wants to take on b7. If b6, maybe b6 should be played. Probably black was afraid of this square c6 with some rook b4, knight c6 maybe. But I'm not sure if I am winning there. Rook a1, knight b7. Now white has won the pawn, but knight b3. There is some counterplay. Okay, bishop takes h6. You must do it. Okay, here it comes. Take. Queen a1. So where's the checkmate now? Oh, my bishop is on f1. I can't give the check on b5. That was the winning check. So white played queen g6. Looks good. The threat is checkmate in 1. So rook f7. King g2, attacking the knight on d3 and pinning. Bishop b7. What's gonna happen?
This was unpredictable.
Yeah. Queen c6. But what's gonna happen now? Bishop f8. Look, everything is hanging right now. You are in the park. You should calculate faster than me. Who is winning right now?
I'm a strategical player.
No, in parks people don't play strategy. They've never heard about strategy. G takes h6. Bishop takes d3. Yeah, maybe white is still better. So knight e5, queen d5, g takes h6. Black has won a piece. f3. That cannot be a good move.
I think something like bishop f8 should be played, and it's just game over. No.
No, because then I play rook takes f7.
Oh,
Well,
queen.
you can give me check on a2.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because if you play this queen takes d5, that's why f3 was played. Maybe that was a trap actually, because without f3 it's the check, but here I can.
Yeah.
So, well, you can slip d3 and the game somehow continues. But probably white is already doing.
Yeah, yeah.
At least I won my piece back. f3. Let's see what happens. Check, king h3. I'm not sure about this check. You may need this queen to defend something. Like if I play bishop g2, what's your idea? That's what happened in the game. Knight g6. Oh, but now you are under strong attack. h5. Oh my goodness, what a that's a Ukrainian park solution. We're talking about it. That's how they do it in the park. Very nice victory for Claudia Munoz. It looked like she was in a big trouble. Looked like UTRGV had a big chance to win. It was 7.5 to 7.5 the last game, and Claudia Munoz defeated Anna Shamatova. So the final result is 8.5 to 7.5. Congratulations, Nadia.
Thank you.
You won so many games. You were a true leader of your team. What about your experience in this match? Was it easy to play on chess 24? Was it difficult to play on chess 24? How do you find it?
I'm just usually not very computer player, so it's not about like chess.com or chess24. Like even this quarantine, I haven't played online at all because I don't really like it. But yet it was okay. Like I'm pretty sure that most of the players, we were all in the same conditions. So that's why.
Okay, very good. So that terminates the match. Knight g6. Actually, it's a good move. Protects the knight, protects the bishop, and that's what white spotted. But what white didn't see was knight f4. So white tried to play h5 with the idea to attack the knight, and if the knight makes a move, then rook takes e7, white wins. And knight f4 happened. And queen h4 is the checkmate. Wow, outstanding finish. Well, probably we couldn't imagine a better finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think it's time to finish our studio. Maybe there is somebody else who wants to join us. Let's see. Maybe somebody from UTRGV. But stay with us, Nadia.
Okay.
Claudia is already connected. Claudia, congratulations on your victory, not only in the last round, but especially in the last round. How did you do it?
Well, first of all, like congrats Nadia too on all of it, and thank you like UTRGV and Texas Tech for like hosting this. This was really fun. It was really like nerve-wracking and all the adrenaline was going. But I happened to see the tactic just before, like thank God I happened to see the tactic just before I played it. So I was like, oh, I think this is winning, and then I just went to it. But yeah, these both matches, or all 4 matches, were really great. I really enjoyed the 2 that I won, of course. The one that yeah, it was a difficult tournament overall, but I really enjoyed it. The first round was definitely hard for me because just waking up and getting into the groove of playing like strong chess was difficult. But yeah, once I found my rhythm, I think things went pretty smoothly.
Did you see that knight f4. In which moment did you see it? Maybe let's formulate the question in this way.
So
yeah.
Right. I really just saw it right before I played it. As soon as she played h5, I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And then I was thinking of maybe just trying to do something, like just sacrificing the bishop, but I didn't see any wins. So ultimately, I was like, wait, I think knight f4 wins because of queen h4. And I just immediately played it, of course, because we were both low on time. So
yes,
that
that was
was
a dramatic ending, dramatic finish. I saw both of you were short of time. It looked like white had a better position. Your king was under attack, but later something happened. I think that pin, that the queen a8 changed a lot, right? Suddenly you got some counterplay, and you won the piece with knight e5, g takes h6. Still, the position is very unclear because, first of all, you are low on time. Both of you are low on time. White has this pass pawn c. Your king is weak. Everything can still happen. White played f3, so we realize that if you go bishop f8, which probably everybody would try to do, then there is that rook f7, queen d5, and rook f8 because there is no check. So that's why White played f3. Really tricky, really tricky. And then c d5, and now we are equal as for the pieces. So very nice try, and you played queen a2. I honestly wasn't impressed by that queen a2. I thought that was too risky. Like you needed your queen somewhere there to protect your pieces, the king. But let me admit, I didn't see knight g6. So
I think,
and I don't know if there is anything white can do because the bishop is hanging with a check. Rook d8 check doesn't really do any damage. So bishop g2 must be played. Actually, that's what I wanted to play. And knight g6. Can white do anything in this position?
To be honest, I thought she would probably just give a few checks and then maybe at some point play h5. But again, I really did not see knight f4 until the last moment. So it was kind of just like a real lifesaver. So yeah. But I figured she would give a check on b8 or do something, but or even push the pawn on c5 to c5, c6, all that stuff. But I guess there's nothing to save at this point.
Probably the only thing is I can give you the exchange, or I can play king h2. But if I play king h2, you play f4, and then you crash. So so that I cannot play. I can take rook e7. Probably, as we discussed with Nadia, for some park game that I may have enough compensation, but in a serious game, of course, it's absolutely lost. Maybe f4 I should play right now. Give a check, first, and then play f4. But this is lost. You can also play king h7 and then play rook g7, g2 check, and
Right.
You actually defended very well with this queen a2, queen f2, knight g6, knight f4. Like brilliant defense. So congratulations, Texas Tech. Thank you both of you for joining the studio and for playing the match. Hopefully our other colleges will take example, will join us for some competitions, and we'll have a bigger state championship, and maybe in the spring semester, as we discussed with coach Alex, maybe we'll have the national championship, national women's championship. Okay, thank you so much. So that will be all for today. Thank you everybody who has watched us till this moment. It was really super exciting till the very last move of the game. I thought we were gonna win as UTRGV I already could see some checkmates for white, but no, white got checkmated with a beautiful sacrifice h5, knight f4, g takes f4, queen h4 check. And I think it's a great moment to finish this video. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I will see you during our next events, probably at Panams.